Hello. What's up out there? What's happening? Welcome to Sunday Live. Was this 185 today? I think that's right. But I didn't get that wrong. Let's talk about some guitar stuff right out of the gate here. There's a super chat, so before I miss it, it's Andrew. Thanks for doing these. Hey, thank you for being here. First thing I'd like to tell you is, okay, I got a new pair of these guys. You know, I've been wearing these for a few weeks now. These are these Caddis Glasses. I'm going to give them a little plug because I love these. So I finally got this pair, which is progressive. So for all you old dudes out there that need reading glasses, these are the shit. They're just a 1.5 at the bottom. So they're not like too strong, but they're kind of amazing. I mean, the difference, I've never tried progressive. So this is like a revolution for me. Revolutionary, but I can read, you know, like there it's blurry on my phone and there it's good. So that kind of thing. Pretty cool. So I'm enjoying these. And eventually I'm going to get a link and put it, I should just get the link anyway, put it in the description below, just their website, but it's CADDIS, and I'm all about these glasses. So, and like I say, I did hook up with them, full disclosure now. And they're going to give me like a discount link to put in the description below. But I bought my first pair from them and I just loved them so much. So then I wrote them an email and said like, hey, like these glasses are awesome. So anyways, and they said, yeah, we'll get you a code to put in your. So that's that story. What happened this week? I went to Sunset Sound. So maybe you saw the video I put up yesterday. I didn't get a lot of videos out this week because I went to Sunset Sound for like 3 days. But more coming next week and stuff like that. I got a new product actually for a video that's being released tomorrow. And then another one later in the week. So a couple videos that in the works for this week. But the Sunset Sound video was interesting nonetheless, right? I think it's kind of fun to go there and, you know, do it's my first package of IRs is what it is. I don't know why I haven't done it before, but it's the Dyne IRs from Two Notes. So you can use them, of course, with the Two Notes hardware like the Captor X and stuff. But you can also, not a lot of people know this, I think. You can use them within Wall of Sound and use them with any load box. So if you've got a Sur or an Aux or anything like that, you just take the unfiltered output and disable the speaker sims on units like that, and then you can still use the Two Notes within Wall of Sound, and in Logic or Pro Tools or any of those units, or even in one of their hardware units like a Cab Amp that doesn't have a load built in. So there's all kinds of ways you can use them. But I will say that they are kick ass. They turned them around in like 24 hours once we did the whatever you call it, captures or sampling or whatever, their process is. They go to France and they do something to them, and then they sent me versions of them I could try on Wall of Sound, and they are killer. They wanted me to wait on saying exactly what cabinets we did and stuff, but it's some special stuff. It's some unique stuff, some vintage speakers, and some stuff that that I've used on the road, and just some really cool stuff. So and like one cab that's really appropriate for edge of breakup or clean tones. It's open back and it's really great. That turned out, like, I was listening to it the other day, just going, this is awesome sounding. And then another cab that is just like, I had to do something that's like up my alley, and you guys know I like greenbacks and all that. So we did that, and pulling that up in my DAW and listening, and then it directly A-Bing with my mic'd cab in the other room. It was like, I think it sounds better actually. So it's just optimized and sounds perfect without needing any EQ or anything. It was just really great sounding. So I'm really excited about them. So for anybody out there that's been, wanting some cool IRs or waiting for me to do it one of these days and stuff, I finally did it. And yeah. So, and in the video, Frosty says the Sunset Sound chamber sounds huge compared to the visual size of it. I know, right? You would think it would be a bigger room, but it's really not that big. There's another photo that the Two Notes guys put up on their IG. You can see where there's 4 of us standing in there, and it looks a little bigger than you can see. Maybe it looked a little deceptively small in my video, but yeah, it's not a big room. It's just the dimensions of the room that create the ambience and stuff. And it's fascinating how would you build a room like that and know it was going to sound any good? And it's like, because it is a lot of kind of like the 2 walls on the sides are pretty square. It's like How do they know that what it's going to end up sounding? It was really interesting to me. But nonetheless, and of course I had to try it. And so actually in the video where you see me playing, you can hear a little bit of the reverb, but it's just crappy cell phone video, so it's not really coming through. I only had a little bit mixed in on the console at that point, and I tried more, throughout the day when I played periodically here and there, and it was like that. It just sounds amazing. It's that sound, it's just that sound, and it's really amazing to get to go there and experience that stuff. So what a thrill it was. It was so cool. Yeah, and great. The other thing to take into account is, of course, when you're making IRs, the surrounding, like the room is a factor. It's not a huge factor if you're doing, close mics and stuff, but it is a factor for sure that matters. And that room is great. The live room where the cabinets actually were, and then on top of that, the board is important because of the preamps. You're capturing that too. It's running through the electronics of the console and stuff. So it's a legendary board. It's not the board that was in there when they did Van Halen 1. I will say that. It's a custom console that was put in around 1982. I found a great article online that described the console build and what they were going for and like all this stuff when they were, putting the new console in. It was like something like Recording magazine for kind of like really heady stuff that was obviously for recording engineers and stuff. And there's a great reprint of that article online from back when they put the board in there. There's a lot of great ads and stuff in the magazine too, so it's really cool. It's all been digitized and put online, and some of the ads are hilarious, like for the old Porta Studios and gear at the time that was coming out. That's pretty neat. But yeah, man, really, really interesting. So and then the other aspect, of course, to the package is the mics, and I showed the mics in the video that we chose, so that's no surprise. It's a 57, of course, a 421, had to do those, but also a Sennheiser 441, and I hadn't used one of those for years on guitar. And then when they were asking what mics do you want to do, I suggested that, and they had them in Sunset Sound. 441 is kind of that long, sort of rectangular looking mic that you see like Stevie Nicks singing through sometimes back in the day and other singers. But it's kind of like a little bit like the underrated is the word. A friend of mine introduced me to it about in the mid 90s and said, these are great on guitar cabs. And I thought, really, and I tried it out, and sure enough, it sounded great. And then, so you can hear it if you check out the package. It's like the 57, but without as much hash on the top end. It's just a great sounding dynamic, similar to an SM7, but maybe a little more clarity, I think. And it just sounds great. It sounds terrific. So we included that mic. And then one of the others that we included was my 4050 from Audio Technica, which I've been loving, and it's awesome. Also a FET 47 from Neumann. It's really similar to the 4050. That was interesting, the sound. I mean, almost interchangeable. And that made me feel good because it's like, okay, I know the 4050 is a great mic, but a FET 47 is a lot more money. So that was cool to see and hear, and but nice to have both options in there anyway. And then you get a couple ribbons in there, 3 dynamics, I think at least, and a couple ribbons and different condensers. And so it's really cool mix of stuff. It's going to be great. I'm excited about it. What else we got here? A couple super chats, and then I'm going to get to some of your questions and stuff here too. Other ones. Thanks for the amazing content. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Any recommendation on a chorus pedal that works great both with and without overdrive? Lots of great chorus pedals out there. I like the Alexa a lot. The Sir. I mean, it's really fantastic sounding. Another one was the Anadem Chorus from Providence that I really like, for an old school kind of readily. Well, it's not like Providence you don't see everywhere, but you can buy it online and find one. I played some Rush in the video I remember. I think I played like Digital Man or something, which is a great, chorusy riff. And so you can hear it in the video, but check out the Anadem Chorus from Providence as well as the Alexa. Now, other ones, what do you guys think? Good chorus pedals. I mean, those are the two that come to mind. I like, for the digital stuff and kind of like in the Mobius, the The choruses are great. I think really good and usable. You know, if you've got one of the all around boxes, it's terrific. What's the other one I tried recently? I think it was a Walrus has a nice chorus. Oh, and I gotta give some props to my friends at Caroline. They've got a couple nice choruses too. Anything from Caroline sounds great. So check out what they've got. But some really nice stuff. Caroline Guitar Effects. Nick up there in the super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. A great acoustic guitar mic. Are you talking about the 441? I don't know about that. Great acoustic guitar mics. To me, a great acoustic guitar mics. I mean, number one for me, it depends what you want. Do you want it to sound really pure and kind of clear and fast and stuff? Because then it would be a small diaphragm, something like a Neumann KM84 would be great. I like the 184 too. Some people say they don't like it as much as the old version, the KM84, but I've used a 184 a lot on recording acoustic, and I really like that. I've got a great set of Audio Technica that are kind of a sided rest, small diaphragm condenser, 40 or 450 is the number, but they've got an AT 4050 or something, or not 40. That's the big mic. 450, I think, is the ones that I've got. 450. I think that's the. But anyway, and they're not expensive. They're like $299. What else do I like on acoustic? I use my Slate mic for a lot of stuff. Have you guys seen the Slate? You know, the. If I can get it in the shot here. Here on the stand, this is a nice mic all around. Actually, I use on my camera. This is a Lewitt LCT 440, I think it's called. And then this is my Slate. Can you see it? I can't get it in the frame. There it is. This guy, which is their modeling microphone. It's about, they put it on sale all the time for $4.99. But it works really well, and you can put different with their software. You can use it's like a very, very flat large diaphragm condenser, and then using their software, you can kind of color it to sound like a U67 or a C12 or all these different microphones. So I end up using it a lot, and I use it for acoustic a lot on the C12 setting. Now, if you want the Beatles or that kind of more colored, thick, compressed acoustic guitar sound from the 60s, they used U47s a lot and probably C12s and stuff like that. But you see a lot of U47s in pictures, I actually should look at the Recording the Beatles book. Have Warren DeMartini's copy of Recording the Beatles, which he was very nice to lend to me at my house. And I haven't gotten that deep into it, but it's this amazing book that another friend of mine wrote years ago, Brian Kehoe, who's like a bit of a, he's a bit of a genius. Tours with the Who, and is kind of Pete's right-hand guy, but also wrote this amazing book called Recording the Beatles that looks like a 2-inch tape reel. It's like a great big square, comes in a box, and it looks like a reel of 2-inch tape. And then you pull the book out of that, but it's got details on every single setup that for every song, like as far as the miking and what instruments they used and stuff like that. So I need to look through there and see. But anyways, I digress. That Beatles sound to me, that thick kind of large diaphragm, so like slightly slower, compressed, really colored acoustic sound. Maybe the Stones and stuff too, when we think about some of their like especially the early stuff, that's that character to me sounds like big diaphragm old tube mics. So how do I Nashville tune my acoustic? That's basically like a 12 string, but you take the low strings off, I do believe, right? Nashville tuning, which I've done. So you end up with this jangly high, just all the high strings from and it's neat. It's neat and different sounding than using a 12 string. It's got its own character. So it's definitely cool. You were asking if you need heavy strings. Not necessarily, although it could be helpful, I guess, on certain guitars, because you are if it's a guitar that's if you've normally got 10s or 11s on it, and then you just put the high strings from a 12 string set on it, it's not going to be a lot of tension. So as long as you got some range on the truss rod, you should be okay. But heavier strings may work well, I would think. You don't really need to bend. I don't think it really matters, But yeah, probably like, the high strings you can just buy a 12-string set and then not use the low strings, and you would probably want to use like a medium set, I guess, or light set for a 12-string. And then just save the other strings as spares, I guess. Thornbucker Plus and Sir ML Standard says, do fuzz on Made in Mexico HSS Strat Rosewood Neck medium weight. Thoughts? Great. I use the ML, like the V63. I'm pretty sure about this. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're what they call a V63 now was the ML Classic. And I don't even know if they make the ML Standard anymore or not, but I think the ML Standard was a little hotter, maybe a little darker, probably shift the resonant peak a little bit, because I think they were a little hotter. The Classic is a bit more like a vintage Strat, straight up, and I just love that pickup, the V63. It's a really great sounding pickup. So it pairs beautifully with the Thornbucker Plus for sure. Output and everything. Jim says he loved the photo in the echo chamber. Yeah, it was fun going there. Always a good time. Sunset Sound. Yeah. Arthur says that it was built in the 50s. That's correct. It was actually built in 58. And originally I heard it was built for Disney projects. They kind of convinced whoever that they needed their own studio to do stuff. So that's what it was originally for. Maybe it existed that way into the 60s and stuff. And then, like, obviously the Doors went in there and recorded and stuff. So, after a few years, I guess they opened it up to other projects. Ed has the original board in 5150. I'm fuzzy on that, man. I don't know if the board was originally the board from Sunset that ended up at 5150. But anyway, it's not a 5150 anymore. And the board that's been in 5150 forever is in SSL. The board that Ed had in 5150 was a UA board. It could have been the one from Sunset Sound from Studio One. I just don't remember, to be honest. I'm not clear on this. So maybe somebody can do a little bit of internet research and real quick. I bet it's a Google search, it would pop up. But it was a UA board with the solid state UA pre's in it. And he actually showed me one of the channels once. When I was up there, I said, didn't you used to have, this was a UA console in here, wasn't it? Like originally, like an old, and he goes, yeah. He goes, check this out. I only got one of these left. And he ran in the shop and he pulled out a channel strip and he had the full strip from one of the channels in that console when, they did 1984 and stuff. And he showed it to me, which was amazing. But it was, solid state. It wasn't like one of the tube UA consoles. It was solid state. With the, I think they call them like 710. You can buy those preamps from UA now. Like they make their 710 style mic pre. It's a solid state mic pre, and it's similar, I think, to the 610, just using solid state, components. And that would have been the board that was in there when they did, Van Halen 1, etc. I'm fuzzy on what was in Studio 2, though, because I think about that. Like my favorite sound I've come to sort of decide is actually Van Halen 2. And I think most of that record was in Studio 2. And I don't know what board was in Studio. It's a Neve now. It's a big 8088 Neve, like an old Neve, but I don't think it was there when maybe then in the late 70s, 79. When they did that. I gotta look. I don't know all my Sunset Sound history. I know some, but not all. So, anyways, doesn't matter. No matter what, they would have played the same and sounded amazing. There's a super chat. It's Robert. Let me see. Where is he here? Robert Valdez. What's up, man? Tell us about the red sparkle guitar you've had on your opening page for this edition. Oh, that's a Steve Stevens Nags that I've had since 2015, I think. It's a straight up SS2 Steve Stevens Nags, and it's a really fun guitar that has quite hot pickups in it. It has his Rebel Yell pickups in it. So I use it sometimes. I was using it yesterday to record a video that I'm putting out this week for something. You saw me use it last if you saw this video, in the Mick Mars Richard Fortus video where I played Dr. Feelgood on that amp. And the thing about that guitar, and the reason I chose it for that video, was because it had those hot kind of 14K Alnico 5 pickups in it, and I thought this is probably the closest thing I have to a JB, which is what in a guitar, which is what Mick would have used. I think supposedly that's what's kind of his thing. So I thought it just looks amazing too, that guitar. My buddy Steve Stevens. Let's see. Can you do a series of stories about Chris Cornell videos? Series of videos, stories about Chris Cornell and such icons. Maybe someday. Yeah, I've told quite a few of the stories actually already. I guess there's always more to tell, but it would be cool to, I guess, condense it down to one, video. Not a bad idea. I want an IR of that chamber, says Zachary. Well, actually, Zachary, I got good news for you. There is a plugin that is great, and I have it, and it's awesome. I bought it for $99. It's the Sunset Sound reverb plugin from IK Multimedia, and it gets very close to that sound. So it's really terrific. So there you go. They bottled it and put it in a plugin. I would love to kind of actually, there sometime listen to the plugin and directly A/B it with the real room and go back and forth. That'd be neat. But it sounds right to me anyway. And you hear me use it in those videos that I did with Dave Friedman, the EVH deep dive videos. I'm using that plugin. It's really great. Yeah. Okay. Nick says he gave up, was trying to send a flippin' message. What is it, Nick? Tell us what you're trying to say. Tell us. Oh, you did send a super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But I want to help you out if you got a question or anything like that. So hit me up. Somebody's suggesting it's Stephen Douglas. What's up, Stephen? The CE2 for a great chorus pedal. It's hard to go wrong with the CE2. Of course, you got to buy a vintage one, but lots of Boss, the newer stuff is great too. Is there a Waza version of the CE2? I think there might be, right? Am I crazy? All the Waza pedals are terrific. They got those right. That is for sure. Simple and nice, really good stuff. Nick does, I see now. What'd you say? Am I Hollywood 03? Cool, man. Big fan. PT100 is my new go-to amp. Unbelievable and hard to imagine the word boost used in any other capacity. This is, in my opinion, the perfect head. Thanks, man. There's one right there. One of these days I'll get the new, I don't know if you guys have seen, but we came out with new cosmetics for it. So it's more similar to the PT15 now, with the same knobs, same faceplate material, same Tolex and all that stuff. I've got one of the silver face ones in here, which is the first thing that we brought out. Because my two blue face ones, which were out for many years, the one that sort of, came after that one, are in Japan, and they've been over there for years. I sent them over there, and the last time was 2018 or something, 4 years ago, and they're still there. So, and hopefully maybe I get to go back there and use them again one of these days. But so they live over there, and but I do need to get one of the newer ones in here with the new cosmetics and stuff. Yeah. What else have we got here? Zed says that a Canadian company makes a mic called a CM47 FET that gives you that Neumann S sound for half the price of an Audio-Technica 4050. But an Audio-Technica 4050 is like $700. So really, they're like $350. Let's take a look. Advanced Audio CM47. Advanced Audio CM47. I will say I like some of the warm audio stuff that I've seen. That stuff is great. Advanced Audio CM47 tube is $695. And the CM47 FET is $295. Interesting. I haven't heard of this company, but I'm very happy with my 4050, so I'm going to roll with that. I need another mic, like I need a hole in the head, to tell you the truth. One thing I would like is a 441, more than anything. I've got large diaphragm condensers just coming out of my bunghole over here. I have too many of them. I've got like the Slate, the Lewitt, couple from Sterling that are like lower price models, and then I've got a nice Mojave MA200 tube mic. Those are like $1,200 or something. It's good, nice, U67 kind of thing. So I have that, and I'm probably missing something. So I got enough around here for that style of microphone, because it's kind of rare. I mean, I do use them on acoustic, and if I'm cutting a vocal in here for something, which I've done a little bit of recently, certain things I'll use them for, but I don't use them a hell of a lot. Compared to now, the 4050 though went on my guitar cabinet because I just love it on guitars. So it's living out there, and I'm covered as far as those types of mics go. What else we got here? How often do you use an EQ pedal with big heads? I don't use them that often, but they are awesome. I mean, any of the videos I've actually done for like the EQ 200 from Boss, or the Source Audio, or anytime I use one, I really appreciate it. Now, I will say this: I've got on my board I was going to say U67. I got mics on the brain. I'm close. The Unit 67 from Drybell. And that has simple EQ in it. It's got a bass, a treble, and a Rangemaster style mid boost. So it's a very guitar kind of centric, basic, primitive sort of EQ, but it's an EQ nonetheless. And it's also got boost and compression built in, and it sounds amazing. The Unit 67 is like one of my favorite kind of guitar polisher. It could be an always on thing. So 1176 style compression, supposedly, with the Rangemaster style boost and simple EQ, as well as a clean boost. If you want, you can turn off the Rangemaster thing. So it's a very, very versatile kind of buffer, polisher, compressor, really neat pedal. Couple super chats there. Love the 2 Notes video. I need to go back to LA. Need a rainbow B&G pizza. I have a Torpedo Live. Will you and Dave have separate IR packs or combo? No, it's separate packs. So Dave and I both went, and on consecutive days we did our different packs, and I was there for his for some of it, and he was there for mine for some of it. So that was the idea, that we would book, just and send all our stuff over there at once, and just kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, essentially. Before I forget, let's all hope for the folks down in Louisiana that everything goes okay today. I just wanted to say that because I was watching the news this morning. That storm looks gnarly. So hope folks got out of harm's way down there and stuff. And thinking about my friends at Comet, Hoagie, and those good guys down there. So that storm is crazy. Another super chat here from Nick. If you had to go with just one ribbon mic for the rest of time, where are you going? If I could have my choice, it'd probably be a Royer 122. It's a really beautiful sounding mic that has a more extended, clear top end, and you can use it on its own. Actually, I feel like without needing to blend with another mic. Unlike a 121 is okay for some tones, especially if you want a nice, warm, round, very natural, clean. It's great. But they won't really work by themselves in a rock context on dirty guitars. They're too dark to me. Great blended with a 57, though. It's a classic. But the 122, pretty good on its own, actually. Still sounds great blended, too. But really nice microphone. It's like the active version of the 121, and just with that preamp, I don't know how they do it, but it's got a bit more of extended top end and stuff. So it's a really beautiful sounding mic. On a budget, the ST170 from Sterling has been my favorite. It's their, I think, kind of like, maybe a, low priced alternative copy version of a 122. You could think of it as, but it's great on it's terrific. I've got one here, and I used it for a long time. I've moved away from it lately to the 4050. I'm just liking the sound, but if you want that ribbon color, the 170 is great. I'm sure I'll use it again here for stuff. Yep. Hello, Linger1234. No questions, just appreciate you. Thanks, man. You're too kind. Thank you for doing the super chat and being here. All you guys, thanks for being here. We got 384 people online, and I love you all. How does that bumblebee in the background compare to the Frankenstein? You saw it. Kind of fun. I've assembled a couple guitars recently for something I'm doing soon, but I'm not going to tell you about it. Uh, and that's one of them. So it's really, really similar. The neck may be a little different, maybe not quite as thin on that guitar, but really similar. I mean, like you can go from one to the other, and it's not an adjustment. Feels about the same width. Um, they sound really close. That's a little brighter, maybe, but it could be down to the strings too, because the Frankenstein version of that guitar I have here is got really old strings on it right now. So I'd have to directly compare, but that came recently, and it's good. It's really good. I mean, for you know what, it's like for that style of guitar for Van Halen songs and doing that thing, it's like just set the action low, set it up, tune it up, stretch those damn strings out, and rip. And don't think too much about it. Like when it comes, I will say that, like having said everything I've said, doing the pickup video and the change, they just work great for that thing. They're the shredder, fire up the distortion, and it's more about in the hands. And I know everybody tone in the hands and all that stuff, but I've learned a lot of Van Halen licks recently, and it's like I will say that uh it's in the hands, like learning the licks and getting the fire and all that. Like you have to. I was watching some last night, actually, some Van Halen, watching some of his solos from like it was an '82 or '83 show. He had the Kramer beakhead stock on the Frankenstein. I was watching his live solo from somewhere, and there's so much. I don't know, that guy, man. He had so much fire and energy in his playing. It was just crazy. And that's really what you got to get. More than so anyways, I think for that style, those guitars are just fantastic. They do a great job on them. They're readily available, and yes, they're basswood and all that, and it's like people can argue about that. I think they sound great. It makes sense, the basswood thing, with the to me, more and more the sound of those, like when you take a plexi circuit and it's on 10 and the presence is on 10, and the high end can be, it's penetrating, it's intense. And so the warm body wood combined with the A2 magnet and the slightly hotter pickup actually works really great for just in real world practical applications. We can argue about the exact sounds on the records and all that stuff, but trying to play that stuff, those guitars, they deliver. And I find them, I will say, I've got a Wolfgang I've had for years, and I like it a lot. It's a way more specific instrument to get into. Anybody out there have a Wolfgang? It's like they sort of sit on your body in a different, because of the way the body shape is and stuff, and so they kind of offset, and I feel like they're better on the left leg actually when you're sitting trying to play it. And I just don't find them as easy to play, as just that guitar for that stuff. When you really, if you're really trying to do that music justice, the instrument, you need that guitar to be like out of your way, like just this, what I'm talking about? Like it really needs to be responsive and just like low action, and not anything like weird where the angle of your body is or anything like that, and I do find that with my Wolfgang, even though it's a great guitar, it's just a little bit tougher to play and stuff. But Robert, thanks again for the super chat. 412 people online, you guys. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Mike says, could you talk a little about the respective strengths and weaknesses of the aux versus the Fryette Power Station, and when each works best? I think the Power Station is the preferred device for attenuation. So if it's more of a load reamp technically, but if what your desired thing is to play through a guitar cabinet in the room and get reduced volume, the aux is okay at that, but the Fryette is exceptional. The Fryette has a great load in it that is, second, I would say, maybe only to the Sir Reactive load in total accuracy, as far as and it's close enough that some people might say it's splitting hairs or something. And it's very good in the Power Station, the load, so it's excellent. The Power Station doesn't, in its current form, the form I have impulse responses and stuff like that. So if you want to do recording direct line out, you're going to need to do that Hey guys, can you see me? Damn it. Oh, man, it's going to be tough without... Here, just one sec here. Let me get the phone brightness turned up. So you guys see me okay? Okay, so I'm on the phone now. Oh, man, sorry about that, guys. The damn internet around here, man. That's it. I got to do something about this. Friedman had a problem doing his show the other day, too, and we share internet in our buildings, and it's just like that's it. This week I'm changing. I don't know what it's going to take, but we got to get AT&T or something else. Can't have it dropping out all the time and not working. It's driving me bonkers. But anyways, so this is just on the phone network. So this has worked before. Let me just get my little tripod going here for the phone. If this happens, know that I can get on my. I know that I can do this now and get on the phone and get back working again. But for the amount we pay for internet service every month, it's like this is unacceptable. It's crazy, really crazy. One sec here. Okay, so let's see here. Got the little phone screen going here and stuff, and it's tough for me to read and stuff and see, but I'll do the best I can. So a couple super chats. Sorry if I missed. Could you talk a little bit? Oh, I already did that. The aux versus the, and I think I kind of covered it right before the internet cut off. So yeah, basically, get back in the headspace here of talking about guitar stuff. The panic feeling whenever that happens drives me insane. Like I always get like, God damn it, because I want this to be good, And it's just like it's disconcerting, But back in my flow. So yeah, the strengths with the aux are the direct stuff and the recording. Of course, it will still let you play live and attenuate. You can see it up there with the speaker volume control right here. One thing I've enjoyed recently, if you've got an aux, is spending a little time setting up the presets on this control. If you set up your room mics on this control for each preset, and then you got your 6 click, this knob allows you to set 6 presets. And you can, without ever opening the app, have your 6 cabinet sounds and then the rooms on these mics. So set up your close mics the way you like them, store it as a preset, set up the room the way that you would like it most of the time, and then store it. And then now on that 6-click thing, you can go from your open back 410 to your 412 greenback to your 412 V30 or whatever, your open back deluxe style cab, all that good stuff, and have a great sampling of 6. How many cab sounds do you really need? I don't need more than 6. I mean, I could pick minor greenback on the first one, greenback 412. Next one's like a deluxe, like a deluxe reverb style 112. The next one is I believe the next one is my Vox style 212 Alico. The next one I have an open back 410. And then I've got a couple others like 65s for that kind of dumbly, I'd say like a closed back kind of boutique 65 cab. Just gonna see if maybe the net's back on. I think it is actually. So yeah, I believe it is. So I can get this working again, and just it was like a intermittent. Oh, feedback. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. Go back over here. Oh, that's great. I actually enjoyed that. I love shit like that. All right. If it happens again, I'll go back to the phone. I can do it quick. I got the code open here and everything. I know how to do it. So, okay, we got another super chat up there. How's the Destroyer? The Destroyer is insane. That's one of my favorite guitars that I have. It sounds fat and clear, and it's everything you would want it to be. It's like everything I would want it to be, actually. I can't imagine a 58 Explorer being any better. It would just be about $498,000 more. But yeah. All right. What else we got here? Unfrickin' believable since my hair game is on point. It's just kind of getting sort of long for this haircut, and I kind of enjoy it when it just, yeah. Zed says next time make the phone a hotspot and connect the internet on your phone to your. I could have done that too, but to be honest, it would take just as many steps as what I just did. But yeah, I could have done that. That's another thing I could do. But for the amount we pay for internet around here, it's like, give me a break. It's Spectrum, they take, and then believe me, they want you to pay them on time every month, even when they screw your Sunday show. It's bullshit, man. Class action lawsuit is what I think is in order. Like I'm going to do that. I wish I was a lawyer. I wish I knew lawyers that would take that on. I will say this. Anybody? I hate Spectrum. Like I kind of hate them with a passion. Like as far as an internet provider goes, like it's bullshit. Like that for this very reason. I don't mind paying for things, but it better work. I'm like that. That's why I play Sir. It's because I know that if something goes wrong, it wasn't his fault. It was like the tubes or something. Because they were made like they have it together as far as making stuff. Guitars, amps, they're together as a company can be. Nobody's perfect, but. Spectrum, it falls apart all the damn time, and they want their money still, and that drives me crazy. But I will say this: if you've got Spectrum and you have their TV, their streaming television, with the channels on like that thing as opposed to cable or whatever, that when you open up the app, it's being on Roku or whatever, you get the Spectrum channel first, which always kind of pissed me off. Like, oh, of course they're going to give you their channel. It's really good. I will say they do a great job. Like sometimes I turn it on and then like if I'm just watching TV brainlessly, mindlessly, I'll turn it on and then I end up sitting there like watching whatever's on for a while. They've got those LA stories like where they'll interview people like, like Cheech or Santana or something, and I get sucked into the interviews and I watch it and it's like really, really good. Their weather's good. They're like their news is decent. It's a cool thing. So I'm conflicted because they got that together. It's not bad. Oh, class action lawsuit fun. Yeah, more important than coffee these days. Let's sue everybody. What was it like standing in that reverb chamber used for the Van Halen album? What are the walls made? I don't know what the walls were made of. It seemed kind of drywally, but it was shiny. It was like almost looked like an oil-based paint. It's not cement. I don't think. But I don't think it was dry. I'm not sure. I should have done a little more investigation. I could ask. I could ask somebody over there and figure it out. But it's very reflective. I will say that in there. But it sounds great. There's some confusion about how that works in the comments. Like it's not. You don't put a speaker cabinet in there like a guitar cabinet. It doesn't go in that room. The console has, it's kind of interesting if you've never known how it works, like a reverb chamber. The console has a send on it and it sends signal out, right? And that goes to a power amp and a cabinet that's in that room that looks like an old PA cabinet from about 1972 or something. It's ancient looking with a big horn on it, and that pumps the sound from the console, whatever you want to send out through an aux send on a channel, into that room. And then microphones pick up the sound of the room reverberating, so the dry sound is coming out of the speaker cabinet. It's reverberating around the room and then the mics are picking it up. That's how the chamber reverb works. It sounds killer. What can you say? Just help them to keep the rock rolling. This will help. Thank you guys for our internet switch with whatever company we're going to go with. I tell you what, supposedly, Spectrum is like our internet speed here is like 680 download and like whatever 50 upload, like super fast. It doesn't matter if it drops out all the time. I'd rather have old 100 megabit internet. That was fine if it's consistent and good. So anyway, whatever. Thanks again to you guys for the super chats. I really appreciate it. Guitar Armageddon, Arthur, Krager. Who else we got up there? Tim. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. Okay. Pete is fired up today. It's true. It says unfucking believable. I am a little fired up today. What else we got? Let's talk about guitar more, not internet and all that. Who cares about that stuff, right? I missed someone's $10 top chat during the blackout. Please let me know who, and I'd be happy to address it. Don't just maybe Ben can repost or something if you're here, Ben. I think you are here, Ben. I appreciate it. Thank you. I have an 84 Destroyer. That's interesting. Safari Blue. They were a little different in the 80s, but I think of those guitars more like the Phil Collen. One of the first bands I was ever in, a guy had one, the Phil Collen 3 white pickup version, with the trim and everything. I always remember that. It's kind of a cool looking guitar too. Pretty neat. Oh, there, Ben. Maybe this one. Thanks, Ben. Did you spend time with the Sir SE100? I rarely see them nowadays. It has some beefy mids and slightly dark, warm overall tone. Yes, that's my experience with it. As far as I know, that's what it, which is kind of, if you leave John to his devices, to design a high gain amp, that's what it's going to do. He likes lots of full low mids and lows. That's his personal thing. And if you think about his, John's tones, what he really digs are like Leslie West, Billy Gibbons. He likes great big fat single notes, so that makes sense. He likes big full sounding distortion. And that's kind of what the SE100 does more. Even a crunch mod, which is probably not that far off, that he designed originally for custom audio, and then Martin would do them and all that. And like the Billy Joe amp, for instance, that's kind of that sound, crunch mod. It's a different sound, not quite as lean as say something that Dave Friedman might do or something. Their tastes just vary a little bit, I think. So, and I've messed a lot, actually, I will say, with the plug-in version too, which sounds great. The UA SE100 version, it does that thing too. So it's cool. If you want that straight up, Billy Joe kind of distortion, it's great for that too. Robert Valdez again there in the top chat. Thank you, man. Sonic ISP. Oh, is that internet? Interesting. Is that what that is? If you decided to publish your demo videos, pedal creation, songs in one package with tabs, I would bite. The tab thing I've done a little bit through. I have some at Jam Track Central. If you've never seen those, where I've sent them songs and they'll transcribe them. And if you buy a package through them, you'll get, an MP3 of the song, an MP3 with no solo, kind of lead guitar -1 version, the tab, a video of me playing it, so you can see my hands on the neck playing the licks and stuff like that. They do a great job, and they're not expensive. They're like $4.99 a track or something like that. You get a lot for $4.99. So, yeah. Do you have any info on the EVH Iconic amps? I don't, actually. I don't know anything about those. I know they're kind of some solid staterized version of an EVH, right? And James Brown, I think, is there now, right? So it must have something to do with it, and probably, applied what he's learned, I bet, from working with amp tweaker pedals and stuff like that to, the design, saying, we can get there with an easier way to go. I think it's interesting. I mean, I think this is my thing with EVH amps. If I had to say, like, why haven't you done this? And this is the no-brainer thing that you should definitely do, and it will be a hit, and everybody will make money, and customers will be happy, and it'll be great. Is why haven't you done the Marshall? That's just, to me, they just need to do that amp properly, hand wired, dead nuts, no screwing around. Or not. Do a hand wired version, come out with a limited edition, charge a lot of money for it. And I think it's the caffeine. I don't have a stutter normally. And then maybe come out with a PC board version later. That's probably sound every bit as good and whatnot. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just do it. Just make that amp. There's no reason to not do it, and that's the one that people really want, right? I think, the amps. I'm not discounting the tones or the quality of the new ones, that the EVH3, and so I used it, or 5153, and the 50-watt versions and all that stuff. They're cool in their own way, and they do their own thing. But the one that people, the fans, and now would be the time, like to kind of like, I feel like before folks, I mean, he'll live on forever and be an icon forever, but the folks that were, there's still guys like me that were around back then that are getting older, that customers that would want to buy something like that, I feel like, and that is just as far as just like, why wait? I don't know. They did it with the Frankenstein guitar. You got to do the exact same thing with the amp, and it'll be a big hit, I think. Pariah, what's up? Appreciate you too. Thank you for being here, maker of fine pickups, and thank you for the super chat. Would you consider making a series of Van Halen video lessons, Lick library-ish? You are the most trustworthy source. Oh, well, thank you. I do the best I can. Yeah, maybe. You know what? I to be honest, I love doing little Instagram tidbits every now and then that are very low quality, and not low quality in the content, but low quality in the film. They just shot on my iPhone and putting up little things every now and then. That I like, but doing a whole package, I guess maybe someday. I feel like I'm still a student, man, like of that style. Like, to be honest, I don't know that I'm some, I'm still learning like how to, and I can kind of do, but I don't, I don't know that I'm the, maybe you make me think. I have been working on it a lot lately. I will say that it's been really fun. What do I think has been the most realistic amp sim? God, man, they're all, I mean, I heard somebody using a Helix the other day on a recording of a live thing. They're rehearsing for something, and I heard the, like a board recording, and I thought those guitar sounds are great. I mean, realistic, it's a difficult question, because it's like, in what context, like coming out of a cabinet on a stage, or in a room, or through studio monitors, or through a PA system in a live setting. I mean, what's the criteria? It would depend. They're all so good these days, to be honest. But having said that, there's still something to be said when you just plug in an amp. There's just this certain thing where it's like, well, there it is. Then you go to the other thing, you go, yeah, that's really good. It's really close. It's really, yeah, I like it. It's good. And then you go back to the amp, you go like, oh, there's just this thing, this immediacy. I don't know. And like I say, that could be coming through studio monitors or through a guitar cabinet. There's all these different ways to use these things these days. So it's a difficult question. Kind of too broad, maybe, I think. Joe is saying, don't tell me it's another tube pre-solid power as far as the, I think you're talking about the EVH Iconic. No, I don't think so. It's actually a tube power amp, but some of the front end, like, because there's only two 12AX7s in them. So I think some of the front end is actually a in the solid state zone. 419 people online. Thanks for coming back, folks that maybe left when the internet cut out. Quality Spectrum internet. Them bastards. But yeah. Are there any vintage guitars you still pine for? It is a weird word, isn't it? It's one of those words you'd have to explain to somebody that was a new English speaker. Pine, yes, it's a kind of tree, but it's also when you want something. Our language is insane. I've always wanted I had a 54 Les Paul, a gold top, many years ago before you guys ever knew me, and I sold it in the 90s, and I was just so stupid, and I've always wanted another one. So that's one guitar that always comes to mind. Resh Klee, what's up? Hey, thank you for the super chat. I've been following you for a while, and your videos rekindled my love for guitar. Wow, well, that's all I can ask for. That makes me feel good. Thank you. Makes my day. Finally got to try Sir Classic S. I'm smitten. Smitten, you're pining. You're smitten, you're pining for that guitar. Yeah. Byron says, waiting on me to review the Fractal FM9. You know, I bet it's probably pretty similar to the FM3, but just bigger board and all that. Is it different? I don't know. I haven't. I saw it the other day on their Instagram, like everybody else. I didn't even know they were coming out with that. But the FM9s are really great sounding. You know, I did that 10 presets thing for it, or 9, I think, and it really, really great sounding unit in its own right. You know, terrific, good stuff. Did I miss a super chat? Or no, that was Preamp there. Oh, and there's another. Geez, you guys, you're too kind. This is my Sue Spectrum fund. This is the GoFundMe for the class action lawsuit against my internet provider for constantly dropping out. And me and Friedman will pool our funds and take them to court and rake them over the coals. No, I don't know if that's going to happen, but we will buy more coffee. I've heard the Sur reactive load was intended for recording, and you get some doubling of the impedance curve when reamping into a tube amp. How does Fractal get around this issue in the power station? That is kind of a thing where you do get some, you know, like it can be with the reactive load, like with certain power amps, depending, you might seem like you're getting a lot of low end. You can dampen the top end on a reactive load with the switch. Fractal has their 3-position switches on the power station that lets you kind of tune the load, and I find them in the middle position to be the best. If they're all the way down, it's essentially a resistive load at that point. If they're in the middle, it sounds just great. If they're all the way up, it seems a little aggressive to me as far as the curve goes, but it might work depending on your amp and your, you know. Now the power, yeah, it's a really great question that I don't have an answer to technically. The power amp in the power station is tube, and yes, there must be some sort of impedance curve going on with the cabinet, but I've asked Stevie that question and said, so what's the deal with it? And he's like, no, it's pretty flat. And I'm like, well, how do you do that? Well, I just designed it that way. And it's like, he doesn't, you know, but that's his, he's a designer. He's not going to tell me, maybe, you know, but long story short, it just works. So at the end of the day, it sounds good, and it sounds like very transparent. So like you're plugged with an amp directly into the directly in the cab, you know. So but the reactive load does work great with some power amps, and I've used it with, for instance, like a matrix power amp. It sounds really good with the solid state power amp. So it just depends, you know, it'll still work. But primarily they did kind of design it as a direct line out a recording thing. You know, that said, Al Estrada uses it with Roth. He plays with Roth, and he uses an EQ to kind of just EQ the sound a little bit the way that he wants to hear it. But he's using a, you know, it's a head that's Sur modded for him. It's a I think just a straight up Plexi reissue that Sur did the Van Halen stuff too, and he runs into the reactive load and comes out into, I believe, Matrix power amp. I think it might be an H&H, but I think it's Matrix, and adds some effects, and he plays in stereo, and that sounds really good. I know you use 9.5s in standard tuning, but would you go to 10s for E flat? No, I'm actually loving 9s in E flat, and I even like the Van Halen gauge these days. The 9, 11, 15, 24, 32, 40, I think it is. I'm all about the light strings. I'm as I get older, I want to work less in general, but also with my strings. 9.5s are, generally speaking, I'm pretty happy with, but I may just go to 9s one of these days. They're fine for me, man. Yeah, that Rick Beato video was really great, where he showed the different sounds between, you know, and I think they used a JCM 800, and you know, he showed that you can see it. You can see, if you haven't seen it, it's really great, where he shows the sounds of the different gauges of strings from, you know, I think 11s, 10s, 9s, 8s. And the 9s sound great. At least with that Dirty Marshall thing, I was like, well, that does sound really good. Why should we worry about this? You know, if you want a bigger, fatter, maybe for, you know, grunge, or a bigger kind of sound, or darker sounds, or that kind of thing, I guess the heavy strings can work. But I personally like the 9s in that video. So that made me think, well, why don't I just go to 9s, you know? Lincoln Brewster, dude, we never connected, and now you're sending me a super chat. What's happening? I did call you So we were supposed to talk on the phone a while ago, and I called and left you a message, and I know we never connected, and you're too kind. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'm sorry. It was a weird time where it was just like a busy time and stuff, but I called you and left you a message. I'm sorry we never connected. Let's make that happen. And thank you for stopping by and the super chat. You're too kind. This is part of my Sue Spectrum, Sue Everybody fund for so that we can really make them pay. They need to pay for what they've done, dropping out the stream today. What do they think this is? Trying to answer guitar questions here. This is important business. Anyways, sorry, Lincoln. I'm fired up today because I've got my tools of the trade mug, and I made a double shot long pour thing with coconut milk creamer. Kind of sweet. The sugar's probably not helping, and I'm just. Thanks, Lincoln. I appreciate it. Do your neighbors appreciate the free music they hear? I don't know. Mine do. They just don't know it yet. I like the way you think, Van Boingo. I tell you what, on the other side of this wall right here is one of my favorite rock bands of the last 25 years. And I won't say who it is and stuff because I'm going to keep it private. But they're a really terrific band, and they've got a rehearsal room here. And so sometimes I hear them through the wall, and it's like, oh, I love that song, and I'll sit, and it's sort of distracting because like I want to work, and it's like, but it's so cool. So I'll keep it on the down low, who it is. But anyways, that's a cool thing. I hear them more than they hear me, I think. So let's see. Steven says, we just played Today Is the Day this morning. Killer tune at Lincoln. That's cool. I love when folks stop by here, like Lincoln, and it's great. Everybody that comes in is awesome, but every now and then, it always surprises me the folks that watch this crazy Sunday thing I do, and chime in every now and then and stuff, and it's really fun. Sometimes I meet people and they'll say, "Oh, I saw your show the other day." I'm like, "Really?" I should probably, like every now and then it's like folks like Warren or something, DeMartini or something, be like, "Oh yeah, I watched you on Sunday," and stuff. I'm like, "Oh, I hope I was not an idiot." When your heroes, say that they're watching your, it's a cool thing, but it also is nerve-wracking a little bit in retrospect. So Lincoln Brewster is a terrifying player. Agreed. Please stop talking about play some guitar. That's not what we do here. You came to the wrong place. We bullshit here about guitar. That's what this show's all about. We talk. Sorry, David. For 185 weeks now. So it's many hours. What's 185 times 2? Anybody good at math? I'm not that good. I can't even do that. Got a high school education. But that's how many hours we've talked about guitar here and done very little playing. But we chat and we tell jokes and we have fun. Come on. Shut up and play some freaking guitar, says David. I like you, David. Start your own show. Michael says, so the SIR can't be used as a load box before running into stereo pan. No. I don't want to give you the wrong idea. Yes, you can use it. And especially I find it works great, for instance, and I've used it like this as a load with, say, a solid state power amp. That's nice. Like, you load down the tube amp with the SIR, and then you come out of it, maybe run into effects, then go stereo into something like a Matrix 800, or I've got one of their 3-channel, so I can even do wet, dry, wet with it. It's pretty cool. Somebody was just making the point that with certain tube power amps, you are going to get sort of a doubling of the impedance curve, because the SIR does an impedance curve, right, where you get that resonant peak and then a high rise on the top end. So now you've got the impedance curve kind of baked into the sound at that point that you would normally get plugging a tube amp directly into speakers, right? So now if you go into another tube amp, you can get a kind of pronounced version of that, if that makes sense, which may sort of manifest as sounding like kind of like a lot of low end or something, or maybe like a little edgy on the top. On the top end, you can actually tame it with the switch on the SIR. But I find that it works great. I would just suggest using it with a Matrix power amp or like an H&H or something like that, it can work really, really well into a power amp like that. And if you're using it, there's a good tip. If you're using it with something like the PT100 for reamping, turn the presence all the way down and turn the depth all the way down. If you've got a tube amp and it's got a depth and a presence control, you can shut those off, because that's going to kind of increase that effect. So presence and depth on 0, and that's going to be the closest to kind of it's not totally flat, but the flatter, And then beyond that, you could use an EQ or whatever to tune it. So it'll totally work, Yeah, Okay. Do you favor Thornbucker or Thornbucker Plus for Les Paul? Either will work. If you want to go a little more Billy Gibbons or a little more, old school, Thornbucker's great. That would be like, or similar to what's in my my Yaren, an 8-point. The difference between a Thornbucker Plus and a Thornbucker, if we're just going by, and this isn't totally, an indicator of output or anything like that, but regular Thornbuckers are around 8.4K, something like that, and a Thornbucker Plus is about 8.7. So it's a minor, significant, but not huge, jump in output. So that'll just give you an idea there. And yeah, if you want a little, T-tops and things like that, they were, a lot of the Gibson pickups from the mid 60s, patent number pickups, they were like 7 point something. So on the low side. So long story short, a regular Thornbucker will work great. It's just we made the other one really to just, it's like we wound it up to give it a little more push up to the point where it was like, okay, right there, for somebody that just wants a little more drive out of the pickup. So, and really it was for more Strat style guitars, because I found that in an alder body with kind of like a maple neck, a rosewood board, or even a swamp ash body or something like that, I found with a bolt-on neck and 25 skit, like I have this thing about Les Pauls where the guitar itself is a little hotter, like the mahogany, the glue-in neck gives you a little more sustain than a Strat, all that stuff that a Les Paul does. The guitar, the warmth of mahogany and all that kind of stuff. The guitar's got more mids than your typical Strat to me. So in a Strat style guitar, I wanted a little more heat out of the pickup to kind of compensate. Yeah. Have you been to the new Boutique Amps distribution location? I haven't actually, and I was never at the old one either. So never saw the old building. But I know they're in there doing their thing and getting up and building again. Doing it. Paul Gilbert is getting his tone from 8s. Does he really use 8s? That's interesting to me. Huh. He's got such strong hands. I find that really interesting. His hands. I always remember being at MI and Bruce Boulay, who was, their guitar player, Racer X, terrific guitar player, commenting that Paul, when he played unamplified, like when you could just on a guitar with no, amp plugged in, you could hear his fingers like banging on the neck of the guitar. Boom, 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 boom. All of it. Like he just has these hands. If you've seen his hands, he's got like, the fingers are, like he's got hands made for playing guitar, it seems like. So that's interesting to me that he went to 8s. Yeah. Any tips for capturing my EVH 50 head with a quad Cortex preamp out load box? Okay, I do have some tips actually, because I've made quite a few captures using a quad Cortex. You don't want to use the preamp out. You want to use the load box. Something like the reactive load would be great. You just take the unfiltered line out, run it into the input of the quad Cortex, and it's very simple to kind of set up. The quad Cortex couldn't be easier when you're doing this kind of stuff, because it actually walks you through. Plug this in here, plug that in there, step 1, step 2, step 3 on screen as you're setting it up, and it does it every time. So you don't need a manual, and you can't really make a mistake. The one thing I will say is once you get it all set up, so you're trying to make a direct head profile, obviously, because you're talking about preamp out and load box. So it's going to capture the amp, and then you're going to be able to add a cabinet sim to that sound, or come out of the quad Cortex and even run it into like a power amp and go into a guitar cabinet. The one thing I will say is the captures generally come out ever so slightly, maybe darker on the top end and with a little bit less gain, just a little. So you can compensate for that in one of two ways. You can either add gain on the capture once it's made, right, within a preset, or you can do it on the amp, add a little more than you think little more than you might think you need or whatever. And then it seems to even out. I would probably do it the former way. Just make the capture, and then you might notice it's ever so slightly lower gain, and just add a little bit, like bring the gain from 5 up to like 7 or something on the gain control. And go ahead and tweak the tone a little bit too, if you find it's ever so slightly different. But that's it, really. It's really hard to kind of screw up the process. They made it very simple. So some super chats. You guys, too kind this week. I'm having fun. It's 433 people online. Great to have you here. Do you have any more pedal secrets like you showed us with the fuzz? I mean, my number one, like the pedal secret, the fuzz, you mean like rolling down and getting the clean sparkly thing? Similar with the treble booster. So try that with any treble booster that's worth its salt will kind of do the same thing. You can hear this with Brian May, the Rangemaster style boost will clean up beautifully when you turn it down. Brian never I don't think, had the guitar volume all the way up. He was always living in the rolling it up and down kind of zone for different levels of gain and tone and stuff like that. So, and as well switching pickups all the time. Other pedal tricks. I think, like getting a delay to work in front of a dirty amp is always like, and I find the Echoplex works great for that. Also the new UA pedal works really good for that. And you just have to really be careful about where you set the mix. So setting it really low and only for a repeat or two, and you can actually get into that, like either Jimmy Page or Eddie Van Halen kind of zone pretty easily and run in front of a lot of dirt with the right sounding pedal. Just keep the mix really low, and you might, your mileage may vary. Other tricks, I don't know. Let me think about it. I find the number one thing, and I did this back when I made a video that's actually my biggest video, I think, on YouTube, which is called How to Use and How Not to Use Overdrives. It was like 1.8 million views or something now. I guess a lot of people, I don't know. It was one of those clickbaity titles that worked, I guess. What the trick in that, it's not really a trick, but it's the old Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. We're on a tube screamer. If Lincoln's still here, he knows this, I think. You turn up that output control, crank it up and then run the drive lower. And make sure when you turn on, this is my number one thing, is when you turn on a gain pedal, you probably want to get louder. Generally speaking, you're bumping up the, you're taking a solo or you're going for your crunch rhythm or whatever it is. And because of that, you have to take into account that the rest of the band is probably in that moment in the music also coming up in intensity, many times anyway, not every time, but because you're turning on a fuzz or an overdrive or a distortion. So that means it's time to rock. So like everybody else is going to rock, and a drummer, when they lay in, they've got a lot of dynamic in their hands, possible crash ride, just playing harder on the snare, whatever, in those moments of the song where you're also going to get dirty. So it's like you need to have a lift in volume, and it's almost best to set those things maybe when the band is playing. As many times I hear people, and I see good guitar players too, and this happens out in clubs, they're doing sound check and they turn on their overdrive and you actually hear the level go down. The sound becomes compressed and evens out, and there's this distorted sound which can sound like, oh, it's louder, because a clean sound is an initial spike and then it fades, right? Whereas a distorted chord rings and stays out of volume, where it's like the parent might seem, oh, that's louder, but actually it's not. It's just the you want that spike to lift too when you get dirty, to me, if that makes sense. So it's like you should have your, from clean to edgy to crunchy to dirty, it should get louder all the way across the board. The clean peak thing can be as loud as maybe your crunch sustained sound, and then your lead needs to be 3 dB above that, to me. And generally speaking, I do this stuff with my live rigs, and I always like to go back to this sound person and say, like, hey, how are my levels like during songs? Are they like, and they generally say they're really consistent, like they're not jumping around all over the place, and I don't really have to grab you and push you up in the PA that much when you're taking a solo. It's like you're kind of doing it yourself, and that's what I want to hear. I just want to be in control of my own dynamic in the music, and so that's my number one thing as far as setting pedal gains and stuff like that. With everybody using more and more pedals, this stuff used to be like, it wasn't as big of a deal because it was like everybody was using a twin or a deluxe or a super reverb or a Marshall or whatever, and it was like your peak sound didn't really, you set your loud volume with your guitar on 10 and the amp, you maybe hit it with a pedal, but it didn't really get that much louder, maybe, unless you were playing through a really clean amp. But you know what I mean? If the amp was edgy or breaking up, that was about as loud as you got. And then you just roll your volume up and down on your guitar. That's Eddie Van Halen. That's Jimmy Page. That's Brian May. All those great guitar sounds, you know. Somebody like Gilmore would have had to, even back in the day, playing clean through loud high watts and stuff, he would have had to be careful about his levels on pedals, like we do now, because he's always been a pedal guy. He was one of the first that was really like a pedal guy, that was like, I'm gonna get my sound out of pedals, you know. So kind of interesting. But let's see here. More Guitar says Sunday practice is canceled for the next few weeks. So glad to catch your show. Hey man, great to have you here. Thank you for the super chat. Anything pending on the just started up again? Well, I can't say anything for certain yet. I intend to, and when the shows are announced, I'll be there. But the classic rock show that I did in 2020 was a hell of a lot of fun, and I will go back and do that again. So whenever they announce the dates for that is up to them, and I'll be there because that was a blast. So that's UK. And generally when they gear up to do a run, it'll be a good long run for a couple months, probably, 30 plus gigs, 30, 35 shows or something like that. So that'll be fun. And then I've been asked about something else later in the year, but I can't talk about it. But if all goes as planned, I hope to be away a lot next year because of just being home. I love being here. This is great, but I want to go rock. I want to go play on the road, man. So I hope it all pans out. But it's also touch and go right now, isn't it? Because we don't know what's going on with, it's, in different countries, different situations with, even different states have different, I've got a lot of friends that are touring now and doing things, and they're like, we don't know, because it's like, the different rules going from one state to another, and how you make plans when things can change on a dime, if, with the pandemic, stuff like that. So we hope it goes well, and that everything goes as planned, but it's a little early to know, everything's tentative. I think it feels like a crazy time. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Is there going to be an EVH tribute, hence the Bumble? Oh, I don't know. Like an official EVH tribute? Maybe someday. I don't know. That will be up to, whenever powers that be in the family, I guess, decide to do something. I would imagine sometime they would do something, I've got that for something else that's coming. So we will see. The Classic Rock Show should come to the USA. I think they have intentions of going different places, so we'll see what happens with that. But I agree with you. They've been doing, the same organization that does Classic Rock Shows done Brit Floyd for over 10 years now, I think. And Brit Floyd plays, they play Red Rocks. I saw them at the Greek here in LA. It was awesome. So they've got the network and the ability to do these shows, and they know how to do it, and they know how to do it right. And so that would be great. I think I would have a blast doing that. But I really like the people, and the organization is great, and they put on a great show, and it's just a lot of fun. And so, they do it right. If you're going to do a show like that, it could go wrong and not be, it could be goofy, or it could be great, and they do it great. So it's really fun. I think it's a great celebration of, music that we love. What else we got here? Let's see. Krager's back to, this is a comment, I guess, when I was talking about volume and pedals. Compression in drive mode sustains the signal, and that gives an appearance of high volume. Exactly. It's just like with a compressor. When you've got a compressor, it compresses the peak and brings up the low stuff. And then you've got to decide if you want to use the makeup gain to Beavis. This is the greatest day of our lives. Sorry. Yeah, you got to decide if you want to bring up the overall sound again with a compressor and still have your peak beat, because it's going to seem like everything's louder, right? And an overdrive is a big compressor. It's just adding distortion too. And that's it. Lincoln says spot on. Thanks, man. I appreciate the vote of confidence. I do. Thank you. Noble's OD is great for doing the tube screamer trick. Different sound though. You know, to me a Noble's is almost opposite of a tube screamer because it's actually like a bottom and top kind of distortion and doesn't do the mid. It's funny because they're both green, but other than that, they sound quite different, you know, to me. If anything, a Timmy's more similar to a Noble's. Anybody agree with that? Lincoln, what do you think about that? Like a Timmy's like maybe a more modern Nobles. Although did you guys see the video I did for the Wampler version, the little guy? The green Wampler mini pedal. I can't remember the name of it right now. Great version of a Nobles is what it is. Brian did a really nice job on that pedal. One of my favorite Wampler pedals as of late. And one of the things I really liked about it is that you can vary the bass a little bit, which is nice because that's the only thing with the Nobles. It can be a little bit like too much low end for me sometimes. So anyways, really nice version of that pedal. How can I get the sound of a Les Paul without having one, says Lewis. What's your guitar? Maybe we can recommend pickups or different things you can do. Is it if it's Fender, it's tough, man, because it's like it's hard to get away. You know, if you've got a 25.5 scale, that's the big one to me that you can't ever quite. It's got that snap and twang of that scale length that is distinctly kind of Fender-y to me, you know. But if you've got a different kind of guitar, maybe we could recommend some pickups or something that's a, you know, if it's a 24 3/4 scale length, please stop pounding on your desk. Okay, sorry. You know what it is I can't please everybody all of the time. Somebody said last week that my sound sounded mid-rangey. And I've got this new Logitech camera, which is really nice. If anybody does this kind of thing, it's a 910, I think is the number, 930. I don't know, Logitech 900 and something or other. And it's got built-in mic. And just out of ease and let's call it laziness, I was using the microphone in that. But somebody said it sounds too mid-rangey and it's kind of annoying. So this week I brought out the Samson G-Track Pro. Make your sound professional. But it does sit on the desk and then just for you, my friend. That was passive aggressive or just aggressive. But yeah, it's gonna. I'll try and stop pounding on the desk. Sorry. 440 people online. Wow, fantastic. It's 104. Let's go till 145 or so. Shiny Beast says, "Laugh out loud." Keep pounding on the desk. That's what I come for every week, says James. David Gilmour had note bends like no other. He really did. You know, learn that Another Brick in the Wall solo and realize that maybe you're a girly man when it comes to oh, that's terrible. That sounds sexist. It's from the 90s. And we're gonna pump you up, Hans and Franz. Come on, I'm a 90s kid. But yeah, you know, it's like those bands are extreme. You know, some Van Halen too, some crazy bands. Learning solo from Bottoms Up, and he does one bend in there that's got to be like 2 whole steps. Crazy. It's like you really got to, you know, give it a good stretch. The more I've been 10-4A says, any chance of having sorry, I got distracted there, having Lincoln Brewster on the show. Lincoln, you want to come on the show sometime? You should do it. Let's do it. Hit me up again and let's make that happen. Let's finally talk on the phone because we were supposed to do that a while ago. If you're still here. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the more and more that I actually been playing some different Van Halen material lately that I haven't played in the past, I've realized like the beauty of his how he originally described his playing was kind of like a race car, like crashing and then going, you know, how he said it's like going down the road and then crashing. That would be his tremolo bar, but also just kind of the way he breaks up his solos. It's really, really similar to Angus Young. I did a video a while ago talking about digestible phrases and how I loved Angus Young because he would play a phrase and there'd be a little break and a phrase and a break. And the whole time he kind of moves up the neck and builds the intensity. And he does that a lot. You know, I used the You Shook Me All Night Long guitar solo as an example. It's a great example of that. Hell's Bells, he does the same thing. It's really great how he would do that. But Eddie did the same thing, and it was kind of a thing. I mean, I think Billy Gibbons, you know, it's just a lot of these guys come from the same sort of rock guitar DNA. And I think sometimes we've lost a little bit of that these days, and with the constant playing and the sort of it never stops, and but I just love with Eddie how there's those little breaks between the phrases and stuff. It's like he says something and then he says something and then there's a pause, and he says something else and then there's a pause, and then he builds in intensity, and it gives you a minute to digest the music. Like the space in the music is so important. So really love that. Does the haircut feel refreshing? Yeah, I did. Oh, for the love of strange medicine. Sorry, I highlight the wrong thing. I was trying to. I don't even know where that went. Somebody asked me if the haircut was feeling refreshing, and I'm going to say yes. It feels great, dude. I don't know, man. I mean, I love the idea of long hair, and then once I have it, I never like it. That's just the way I feel. No, I'm just tired of dealing with it. So. Yeah. Jose says blocked, decked, or floating Strat trim. I like all three. So for Eddie Van Halen, it's got to be decked because it just has to be. It has to be, for that thing. I showed him a guitar once that I had in my car as I was leaving. I was leaving 5150, and I had a guitar that had a back-rutted trim on it. And I showed him the guitar, and it had the reason I showed it to him is because it was lying in the back seat out of a gig bag, and I just picked it up as a Sir of mine. And it had an original style Floyd with no fine tuners, but it had locking tuners. So regular nut, locking tuners, original style Floyd. You guys may be seeing it. It's that classic that I have. But I showed it to him, and he looked at it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, but this has, in the how are you supposed to play this? Put your hand on the bridge; it goes all out of tune." And he handed it back to me. And I thought, like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. He's not going to like that." It was kind of funny, but anyways, what was my point? For him, you got to have the trem only go down, and then it, kind of you set up the Floyd Rose so that it's good tension stuck against the body, and you get that resonance and stuff, and then when you drop it, it comes right back up, and it's part of his sound. But for Jeff Beck, it's got to pull up like crazy. So on my old Strat, I have I set it for. On my Sirs, I set it so that I can pull up a whole step on the G string and a half step on the B. A whole step, if you set up your floating trim, generally speaking, I find, like on one of my signature models anyway, if the bridge is just a little bit, like it's not completely parallel with the body, it's set up just ever so slightly forward. That's where mine generally are. And it's like, then it'll pull up a whole step on the G and it'll pull up a half step on the B. It kind of just works that way. I don't know why. It just kind of evens out, like approximately. And I like that. But with Beck, his is, or Scott Henderson, and you've got a ton of range there to pull up, like way more, enough to probably break strings just about on the G and the B. Maybe it's more like a whole step on the B and like a minor third or something on the G. There's a real angle on the bridge. But anyway, yeah. Good stuff. So I like it all, to be honest. It just depends on what you're doing, Just depends on what you're doing. Jeff Beck has two full notes, two steps on the says Thrash Metal Studio. And it's a blast to play with. I mean, it's part of his sound, If you go see him, notice that he barely ever tunes. Like I saw him at Hollywood Bowl a few years ago. He never tuned the damn guitar. He was just using it like a singer. I mean, like constantly bending on the bar. It's amazing, it's such a unique guitar style. It can't be in tune. If he were to play a chord, it's got to be out of tune. I just don't see how after, a half an hour or 45 minutes of working the bar like he does with no, it's, but he sounds amazing, really amazing. Lukather sets his trim up to go up a step and a half with 9-gauge strings, and he's a big Jeff head, that's the thing too. So, and he's amazing. So I'm a floater, says Poo Ninja. I've got floaters. Boy, do I ever have floaters. You know what I'm talking about? My vision. I hate them. I want to get my, anybody ever had that done? Is there anybody out there that's ever had the operation where they remove your vitreous and then they put in some sort of synthetic and they take your floaters out? I hear it's amazing. And I got like fantasies about getting that done. Just like, oh, I just want to go do that right now. It'd be amazing. It probably cost $10,000 an eye or something. What else we got here? Did I miss some super chats? Or no? I may have. Who's this person? James. James Bell. Awesome sunset show. Thanks. You're talking about the video I put up from Sunset. Do you ever use synth pedals? I've got the Boss SY1, but I'm stuck on using it exclusively to play the organ intro to Mr. Crowley. It's funny. The organ intro. It's funny, but getting less so. Well, that's kind of like a sustainer or something. It's like these things can be quickly overused, right? It's like a margarita's great. Oh, it's good, 2 margaritas, pretty good. A third margarita, might be a little too much margarita. Not feeling so good the next day. It's just a little, there's a lot of lime. There's a lot of maybe agave. It's a little too much margarita. So yeah, if you're out there right now saying, what are you talking about? I like 4 margaritas, then maybe we should talk. But yeah, it's the organ sound that could be overused. Okay, so I do have something coming when it comes to synthy stuff, and it's a video that you will see this week. So get ready. It's apropos. I did a video on that pedal, the SY1, so you can see my video and how I used it. I'm fascinated also by that Irish guitar. You seen that guitar that Paul Davids did a video for? I saw it's got like 750,000 views or something. Video he did. He made a beautiful. It's probably one of the best demo gear videos I've ever seen. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. But the video he did for the synth guitar that's made in Ireland, it'll be the only synth guitar video on his channel. It's just, he must have spent a week on it at least, and it's really well done. And that guitar is so impressive and amazing. But so I find that really interesting. Weirdest pedal you actually use. Weirdest pedal. I mean, what do you consider weird? I like some of the weird sounds in my Mobius. Like I love setting up the Mobius to sound like an old 78 from the 1930s where there's a bunch of record scratch and it's wobbling and stuff like that. So that's a pretty weird sound. The kind of the lo-fi stuff that I don't see a lot of people use in it. And the you set the modulation, it's kind of got this record warble kind of thing. That's a really great sound, I think. I love coming up with parts with those kinds of tones. That's probably the weirdest thing that I do. I mean, sonically, I can't think of any others that there's a bunch of pedals I use that I don't see other people use that much. Like the Freak Out is amazing. I don't know if it's weird, but it'll certainly do some weird things if you turn off the dry, and you just have only the feedback node active, and you can see me use it in the video that I made for it, and it's on my board. So, for getting some strange kind of ghostly sort of sounds, or almost like cello, or like different things, it's really cool. Yeah. Pete, did you see my super chat? Says Brian. I didn't, Brian, but let me see if I can find it right now. James, I hope thank you for doing the super chat, and I hope that was interesting. Okay, let me see if I missed a super chat here. Brian, there you are. Sorry about that. I missed that. I've seen Keith Richards, Andy Summers, and Terry Kath had a humbucker in their telly. Yeah, have you ever? I have a similar guitar. I have a that you can see me use in a few videos. It's a Sir Alt T, and it's got thornbuckers in it. And in the neck, it's got a humbucker that sounds just great. So I've used that. And it's a hollow body, kind of not, I guess not all those guys. Obviously, Andy's was a early 60s telly custom. And Keith played the 70s tellies that I think, he probably played hollow tellies at some point, right? Yeah, I don't know if his were primarily the solid. Maybe they were. His might have had the single in the bridge and the humbucker in the neck. The where that split Seth Lover humbucker, right, with the pole pieces split. It does seem to me a little. I know Joe Bonamassa has some, and he seems to use them and like them and stuff. But with the humbucker in the neck and the single in the bridge. I mean, I guess with a telly, if the bridge pickup is hot, which it can be on a telly, you can get an 8K like broadcaster pickup and stick it in the bridge. That might balance pretty good. But it would seem to me that it might be a bit of a mismatch. It's not single coil in the bridge and humbucker in the neck. If I'm playing a guitar with a single in the bridge, I generally want a single in the neck too. I mean, maybe I'm just traditional, but my Telly, my Strat, my old Telly, my old Strat. Those are my go-tos for that. 66 Telly and 64 Strat. My Telly has Ron Ellis pickups in it with the medium tall neck pickup in it. I think the bridge has the split poles where, it's got partially, Alnico 5 and partially Alnico 3 to even out the sound and stuff. And it's just a very, very cool sounding Telly and balanced. But I do have the dual, I got the Thornbucker equipped Sir Alt T. It was a great guitar, and it's got a 5-position switch on it that does split coil and all that stuff so I can split the neck, and it's a really versatile. That I get because Eric, hey, thanks for the nice comment. You've earned the allocates. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. I'm just a guitar nerd, just like you dudes. Ron Ellis pickups kill, especially the Telly pickups. You know what else? Ron gave me this, which is what I use to put pedals in on my desk when I'm making videos. I get more questions about this than I probably do about the pedals. Some kind of C-clamp thing that he got from, I assume, a hardware store somewhere. And that thing has been very useful over the years, since I got it a few years ago from him. The pedals, I was always standing them up on the desk when I was trying to take a video, and they'd fall down, and it was like I'd get pissed off and have to leave the building, get all emotional. And so he was very, very kind to send me that. Love that Vice, is the Poo Ninja. Let's see. That's interesting. Jeff says that he's got a Gordon Smith T with the neck humbucker. Found best matches a Seymour Duncan quarter pounder in the bridge. That makes sense. A nice hot single coil, right? The quarter pounder, that's the pickup that I believe that I think Warren uses those in the neck of his guitars that have single coils. You'll see some of his guitars that have his signature pickup in the bridge, or maybe back in the day it was a JB, and then a neck quarter pounder. Makes sense, because you need a hot pickup to balance. But yeah, vice versa. You could use a PAFE neck humbucker where there's more energy from the strings, and a quarter pounder in the bridge and get a balanced volume. Bulldozer Guitar up there in the super chat. Does Floyd Rose make a guitar brighter in your experience? I have a Les Paul with a Floyd Rose that I want to replace pickups in. I have Thornbuckers in a hardtail Les Paul and love them. I guess it's brighter, or is it just a different low end? Like, is it less lows? I don't know if it's brighter or if it's less low end, but something like that, I would say. It depends on the guitar. Maybe you lose a little sustain or something. Like I did it in one guitar. It was that one that I was just talking about, the classic where it ended up with a Floyd on it, and that guitar it still sounds good, but it does sound a little different. And I think it's maybe not brighter, but maybe less low end. Maybe that's what I would say. Paul says Warren does use a quarter pounder in the neck. Yeah, it makes sense, Yeah. Or Andre says a hot rails. Maybe, I've always wanted to experiment with it. The quarter pounder is one pickup I've never really tried, I've tried a lot of Seymour Duncans, but not that one. I really like their Alnico 2 single coil. It's a nice sounding pickup for, on the warm side single coil. I just have a guitar with those in them. Set of 3. Found the Thornbuckers in your signature sound amazing. Thank you. Yeah, we were going for that balance, just so you could set up your amp. I mean, long story short, if you set up your amp to sound good with a pickup, like, because you can, compensate for your pickup tone, obviously, by setting the tone controls on the amp different. So if you do that, now the trick is to not switch your pickup selector and have the sound go to hell or whatever, it's not sound good anymore. And that's what we were going for with the Thornbucker, was that balance between all the pickup positions. And even the split coil, to be honest, was an accident. The fact that they actually sound really good in my signature guitar split, I think the number 2 position, I love that. And the neck pickups even sounds good split, which it kind of has no right to because it's real weak. But it sounds good, like really good. I've used it on that when I plug in, and I could pick up a guitar in here that has real single coils in it, but I'll do it and I'll be like, that tone sounds awesome. I'm just going to track with this, it's really, really good, I think. So yeah. Any chance of getting John Sir on as a guest? I've had him. He's done a couple of them, I think, or at least one. We did one show where Kevin was on too, and we called it. It was maybe a year or year and a half ago, and we called it "Why We Do Things the Way We Do," sort of thing. Like we were trying to explain. I remember what it was about. The show was kind of themed around like building things in America, why things cost what they do, why Sir approaches things the way they do, like how they build things and stuff like that. And it was based around that. But of course, it always ends up veering off into different directions depending on what the questions are. And so it was cool. If you haven't seen that, check it out. But I'd love to have John on again one of these days. He's fun to have on, and he's of course just an amazing wealth of knowledge, and it's really great. He's done Tone Talk too, and I think they might have done a really good show, as I remember, on how to set up your guitars and stuff with him, which is good. Yeah. Any chance of getting Lukather on? He did Tone Talk. I guess I could ask and see. I've never asked Steve. I'd love to have him on. He's a riot, that's for sure, and he's a legend. Forgot to ask earlier, says Andrew, thoughts on using power cabs with the line out of my PT15 for a wet dry setup with stereo effects. Yeah, you could do that. I never tried that specifically. Are you talking about the Line 6 cabinets? You could do that. I would maybe be it'd probably work pretty good. I would probably be more apt to try some small guitar cabinets just because I don't know. Like, I mean, with your PT15, like, for example, if you have an existing cabinet, I'll tell you what a great setup is right now. I've got a Matrix. I've been doing this a little bit lately with a wet dry wet thing. It's a GT1500. So it's a Matrix power amp made for guitar players. It's pretty light. It's three channel. So wet dry wet, perfect, right? If you had three 112s or even like a PT15 212 cabinet, let's say, and then a couple of 112s with just greenbacks or whatever, and that power amp, that's a killer little wet dry wet setup. Take the line out of your Sir. I mean, even stereo, you could go line out into some stereo effects and come stereo it into. You don't even need the 1500. You could just do two cabinets, and you would have a killer at any volume, kind of with effects and everything, stereo sound. But wet dry wet, yes, you can do that with it too. You think about how you'd have to. The only thing is you might need a mixer or something. I've been doing it with a different. I've been trying it with Quad Cortex, so it's a little bit different because you can actually route outputs out of the Quad Cortex, three outputs with one being center dry very easily and stuff. If you used, your average effects, you might get a little complicated. But yeah, I think you'd run into that anyway with your setup with the power cabs. So, anyways, but there's these different things you can do. You definitely do it if you use mixer. Jakey Lee on the show would be great. I don't really know Jake. I want to hang out with him because he's friends with Dave, and one of these days we had talked about doing that. But I would love to have Jake. I'd love to have Warren on. That'd be awesome. He's super cool. Really, really bright, nice guy, and funny, and it's just great. What else we got here? Let me see. Just looking back through the chat for a second here, guys. Any recommendations on stacked singles? It's not something that I have in any of my guitars, because most of my guitars have if the singles and it's a modern noiseless thing, it's the Sir noiseless system. I always thought I know Tim likes the DiMarzios, like the Area 58s or those different pickups, Tim Pierce. I always thought an HS3 sounded kind of cool. I mean, Yngwie used them, right? Probably try one of those. I don't know. I always thought they sounded good. Like back, even in the early days of him playing. It's great with a Marshall. I don't know. It might not be the exact same sound, but we know it's not exactly a true single coil sound, but some good sound. I would probably just ask, like, what's your goal? Is it to get noiseless happening, or is it, to like, or are you adding maybe a single coil to, a guitar? Because if you're adding it to a guitar that's maybe got a humbucker in the bridge, or it doesn't have a Strat pick guard or whatever, it can be a pain in the ass. But like the Illich noiseless system is pretty amazing, which is what Shure used to use before they developed their own, and it's very similar in the noise reduction stuff. So the Illich noiseless thing is great, and it's a back plate that you can add to your guitar. They've got some different ways you can do it, but if you want a true single coil sound, you're happy with your single coil pickups, you just don't like the noise, that might be something to investigate, as well as a stacked single coil. But Duncan makes them, obviously HS3, the Area, DiMarzio's, give them a try. I've never tried Kinman's. I'll say I'm using EMGs in that silver guitar that you guys have seen here, and they're pretty damn quiet, relatively speaking. So, it's a good way to go. What else we got here? I need your opinion on vintage Yamaha SGs. Wow, I remember those guitars. I almost got one in the maybe 82 or something like that. You love them. Hey man, they were the choice of Santana. And I've seen other folks use them over the years. Cool guitars. I mean, those, I remember the old, the Ibanez from the same period, the Artist, or the 335 style. My roommate used to have one of those back in the day. It was like a 335 kind of thing that I think, like, Lee Ritenour used to play them, I think, right? Maybe still does. Yeah, cool. Some of those guitars from that era. I'm not this. I think they're cool, but I didn't like the look that much of the Yamaha. I sort of preferred the Ibanez, the Artist, but that was just me, just a personal thing. But they're very similar guitars. I mean, we're talking about variations on a Les Paul, and back in the day, they were that was it. You had Les Pauls, you had the Yamaha, you had the Ibanez, the Artist, which was kind of like, I guess, when Ibanez, was all right, we got to establish ourselves and move away from the lawsuit guitars. We'll design this thing, the double cutaway, and they were similar. I've got fond memories of those guitars, just because that's when I started playing, and so it's like I never owned one, but I remember looking at one. Okay, there was 3 guitars I was looking at, and it was at National Music in Edmonton, for a kind of like as I was getting to be a better guitar player, and kind of like, like my mother was going to buy me a new guitar, because whatever I had was kind of, so the new guitar was going to be either a Squier Telly, one of those Japan made Tellys. I kind of wish I'd gotten that, but a Fender Lead 3 with the 2 humbuckers and the 3-way switches. That's what I ended up with. It's okay guitar. I kept it for a couple of years and then sold it. They've recently reissued them, which I thought was funny, because it was never really, a really popular model. Maybe Elliot Easton used them for a minute or something. But anyway, the Lead 3 and the Yamaha. I remember the Yamaha, like looking at the SG 3000 or whatever. And anyways, I ended up with the Lead 3, which I put a Kaler on, and had Yngwie sign. It said Yngwie Malmsteen behind the bridge, because I went to a meet and greet and met him when I was a little kid. True story about my Lead 3. I wonder if that guitar's still out there somewhere. 40 Grit says, you and Dave have really helped me with the gain. Thanks. I worked on your white Sir when I was working for John and Mike. Oh, cool. Cool, man. Hey, thank you. I have that guitar right here somewhere. Is it out? No, it's right there. It's in my rack. Let's take a look at it since you brought it up. It's been through some changes over the years, but this is a really nice guitar. It's got vintage tuners on it, which I may eventually just switch out for like, so they're the slotted in the middle style, what are they called, Cloussons or whatever. Obviously, the painted headstock's cool. It's dirty as hell because it's been, but this is an antique, actually. So it's funny because the antiques are, you can see the wood looks very dark. You might think it's mahogany, but it's actually roasted alder. So John wanted to try roasting a body. And so the neck is roasted and the body's roasted on this guitar. So it's quite resonant. And it's lacquer, so it gets real dirty and kind of gross. But I put it's got a 6-screw Godo 510 plate, and I put the locking saddles on it, and they work quite well. Because the guitar, I will say, I always had trouble keeping it in tune, and these helped a lot. It now has a Thornbucker Plus in the bridge, and this is my one Sir that has a 9 to 12 compound radius, and for those out there that have never tried that, it's really cool. I almost think I like it, especially on a classic, like more than the 10 to 14. It just has a little bit more of a vintage feel to it. So this has the 60C standard neck and a 9 to 12 compound radius. Very cool spec if you want to get a Sir classic and you want it to feel like, with the rolled fingerboard edges and then the slightly more round radius down here. It's very, very nice, I find. And 21 fret, which for me on a Sir is really cool. Like to do the 21 with the, and of course they don't do this anymore. Now the headstock adjustment is the truss rod, but they used to do this thing. So it'll look even more a little vintage if you get one now, because it won't have the cutout for the Allen wrench there to go in for the neck adjust. Anyway, that's the guitar. It's a good one. Hot rod Strat, old school style. Oh, what time is it? It's 1:33. Gonna go another 20 minutes or something like that, and then I'm gonna go get lunch and get some work done. Where do you get the locking saddles? I believe he sells them off his Reverb store. And they kind of come and go depending on his stock. Availability can be, spotty, but they're really good. I would recommend trying them if you haven't. Tell me that they don't make your guitar sound better. You would think, oh, I'm putting on this different kind of saddle. I don't know if it's gonna, I thought I like them more than bent steel saddles or the bent, whatever, the bent vintage style saddles. I like them more than the Godo blocks. They just sound really good to me. I've always wondered, how do they level frets for compound radius necks? I don't know, but they do. I don't know. It's, as the radius sort of flattens out going down the neck, I think it just, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, because I don't know how to do frets. I tried it once. I was shitty at it. I bought all the tools and everything, and didn't really work out. I leave that to the professionals. No, that's not true. Is it true that Warmoth made or still makes necks for Sir? Absolutely not. The necks are made 100% in the shop in Lake Elsinore. If you don't believe me, I'll take photos and show you next time I'm out there. They do it all in-house. Definitely. We have to evacuate Earth. What? We got to go now? You get 10 minutes to grab what you can and board the ship. Which guitar do you pick in the room right now? Oh, I don't know. I'm just going to stay in this room and just ride it out. I'll stay here and play my guitars. They can go off into... Where are we going to go? Venus? That's not going to work. Okay. That's what she said All Scott Music. I don't know what that was in response to, but I like it. Yeah. What else we got? Any chance of having Laurie Basilio on? Maybe. I haven't talked to her in quite some time, actually. John, what's up, dude? Running my Plexi channel on my BE100D dead clean BEHB are set for heavier tones, thinking of getting a Revival Drive compact to get LSL68 or other tones out of the clean channel. You got such a capable amp there, my friend. I mean, I love the pedal, the Revival Drive compact, but I don't know. I would just rock the amp, to be honest. What do you guys think? I mean, you got all the Marshall that you need in there, honestly. I know what you're trying to do. I get it. I kind of do it. Okay, I sort of do it, and I use the Bogner Blue often for that, like a lighter gain through the clean channel. I do that, I guess. But really, I mean, yeah, you can give it a try. I don't know. Bogner Blue, maybe. Here's another one. I'm going to do a video for this really soon. Going to be next up. I've got 2 to put out this week, and then I'll do this one. Here's just something else for you to look at. Look at that. Hot Rod dual channel plexi. Isn't that what you want? From Volta. This is a good sounding pedal. Really good Marshall in the box. So look into that. That could be another one you could check out. The Revival Drive Compact, very cool too. Very cool. But you're here's the thing: is that I do it out of necessity on a gig where I'm just like, okay, I'm playing the Who or something, and I want like a little less drive and I could roll down the volume on my guitar, or I could hit this Bogner Blue, and I'll play on this one song and do it. Does it sound like an SL68? No, not really. I mean, it's really good, and it's just a lighter gain version of kind of what I've already got on. So I don't know. It just depends on I should probably just use channel 2 on my amp to do it, I mean, you can always reach out for one tune and roll the gain down and then go back up again for the next. It's kind of funny because I'm contradicting myself, and because I do what you're asking, but I for what you're asking, would I get another pedal that's quite, it's not an inexpensive pedal. I think you've still got it all in the amp right there. Steven says, I play on a silent stage, but I also use a cabinet with another band. Which load box or attenuator don't need all the recording effects, so no aux or boss? I play on a silent stage. Well, yeah, but the thing is, with what you're doing, you need a cabinet with one. Okay, so for that, I would probably use the Fryette, but you play on a silent stage, so you need a load with a speaker sim. So probably what I would do is the Fryette, which is going to get you to where when you use the cabinet with the other band, you can use the Fryette with the cab and you'll be fine, right? You're good. And then you need speaker sim with someone else. So why not get like a 2 notes cab M and add it to the rig when you need to go direct? Then you got a nice capable cab sim box. It's quite small. It's portable to add to the rig, not a lot to carry, throw it in your gig bag or whatever. That's probably what I would do. The Fryette with a cab M. Now, Fryette, I don't know if I can't say because I don't know what he's got out right now, to be honest. I don't know all the units he offers. Eventually, I think he will have, if he doesn't already, something with cab sim that you can, go direct with. That's also got the power amp and all that built in. So, but yeah, long story short, if he doesn't have that now, and I don't think he does yet, I would just do the cab sim box with the Fryette, and then use as whatever depending on the gig. That sounds good to me. What's your favorite memory of playing with Chris Cornell? So many, dude. I mean, it's hard to really pick one. I mean, it's hard. 300 shows or so, that we did, and it's just some of them I don't even remember. And it's like I'll see video of them and be like, I don't even remember being there. I wish I did. I wish I was more present. I know I was present in the moment, but my favorite memory of playing with Chris, the last time I played with him really sticks in my mind because I guess it was the most recent, and it wasn't that long ago. It was 2016. And just we had a really nice time on stage that night. It was like a great reunion of sorts because we hadn't done a gig in like 6 years, really. I'd always stayed in touch with him, but we hadn't played on a stage together. And so there we were again together. And I had such a nice time that night at the Roxy in LA. And playing some great music and just having fun with him, and then just feeling like I just want to do more of this. I hope we get to do this again. We never did, It's melancholy, right? It sucks. But I remember him being really complimentary that night. I remember him saying on stage after some song, it went really good and we ended last note or whatever. And he looked around on the stage. He goes, I'm the worst musician on this stage. Which was like his way of, it was really, really sweet and self-deprecating and not true. And but yet him in his funny way of that was his sense of humor, and so that's a really good memory of that moment of him get out of here, it's like, but he that was him offering praise, I guess, or whatever, and having fun in his own way, and so that's a good memory. It's a really good memory. It's just him being silly like that and being, because he was amazing that night too. We did this song that he did for a soundtrack of some sort. I can't even remember what it was for. It was a television show, and it's called "Stay With Me," and you can hear his version of this song. And so we did, I think, probably what was the only live version of that song ever. And I was adamant with him about getting somebody on keys, because there's amazing B3 on that song. And he was like, because of budget and things, he was like, let's just do this as, guitar, bass, drums. And I was like, I actually said, I'll take, I was making some money for the gig, and I said, I'll pay out of my pay so that you don't have to hire someone else, because we have to have the keys on that song. And I did. I paid the keyboard player myself out of my pay. So, I think everybody made more money than me, and I was MDing the gig, but I had to make the music. That was the thing, is like, it had to be right. And so I got my friend Jeb Bruni. He's an amazing keyboard player, and he came out and played B3 beautifully on that song. And it's got all these tempo changes in it, and it's really dramatic, and it's an R&B tune, really, but it's just such a great song. And I don't remember who originally cut that song, "Stay With Me." But anyways, listen to his version of it that's on iTunes and stuff. It's or Spotify. It's a great song. His vocal is insane on it. It's awesome. But we did it live, and I feel like we really killed it. And that might have been actually when he said that after that song, the comment, because it was really great. And I just remember just the spirit of the song. We really captured it, and with the keys and everything there that night. It was really cool. So that's a great memory. There's lots of memories, but that's a great memory. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for taking me down that. One of the things I love about doing this is you guys take me on little rides sometimes. It's really special. I wish I could ask you questions about, it's like therapy sometimes for me, this show, I always get out of it and I feel like in a good mood, and really like, it's nice, in a time, like in a cycle of, crazy news and a lot of stuff going on in the world and stuff like that. And it's just crazy. It's a really, nice, the focus you put my mind in. It's good for my mental health, this show, like going down these good memories and talking about guitar and having fun talking about music and stuff. But also it's deeper than that, So I really appreciate you guys for it's, I want you to help me out. And on that note, whittly, Houston, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. You've missed a few super chats. Here's one. I'm going to see if I can get to them all. You just mentioned you like 21 frets over 22. I kind of do. I'm sort of old school. And in a time where, I was seeing guitars go to 27 frets and stuff, like in the late 80s, when you see these Washburns and things with these, I was like, let's go the other way. Let's put 20. Let's get out of the upper register and back into the cash register, down low on the neck, right? That's where the money's made. So yeah, I kind of like 21 frets. And if I need that note way up there on the high E string, I got to bend a minor third to get to it instead of, a whole step. And it just sounds that much more vital. It's really an Eddie Van Halen, Charvel pre-pro, sort of like, not to mention Steve Ray Vaughan and everybody else that used 21 frets and was totally cool with that. So I like that, I'm also not a fan of, and now I have one that I actually would love mine, 5-string or 6-string basses. Now I like 5-string. 5-string's okay. 6-string bass, nobody needs a 6-string bass. Bass players are like, what do you know? You're not a bass player. But it's like, no, just stay out of the upper register and get back in the cash register. And that goes for guitar players too. Yeah. All right. Any other super chats did I miss? Let's see. Oh, there's one. Sorry. Evan, you were right there, and I meant to get to this one. Do you know music theory? I mean, sort of. I took a 6-month theory course at MI, the standard one, and so I basically understand and can figure out what's going on, but I'm pretty slow. I don't read well. I used to read on violin, and I could read on clarinet quite well in the eighth grade. And then guitar, I just, it wasn't interesting to me. I wanted to rock, I wanted to, I just wasn't really into, but theory wise, I mean, I did internalize what I learned at MI and then kind of just other things I've learned over the years. And so if I'm playing a certain chord, I can go, all right, what is this? I can't do it right away, but then I look at it and go, it's got this note, this note, this note, and this note, and those are the intervals. And that means that if this is the root, it's this kind of chord. And I can figure all that out. So artists are heavy too, says David. I don't know why I highlight that, but there you go. Oh, there's another soup. Geez, I did miss some, didn't I? Alex, sorry. How are you liking the EMGs? Do you notice less picking dynamics and sensitivity to pick attack? Not really. And I've thought about this recently. So I quite like the EMGs. I think they're really pretty good. And I was talking about this with John Shanks the other day, a great producer and guitar player, plays with Bon Jovi. And he sort of agreed with me on this, I think, because he was like, how do you like them? And I go, I do. I actually kind of, and he goes, I know, I like them too. He's got a set with he's got the David Gilmour set in a guitar that has the mid boost and all that. And I said, you know what it is? I think we're so used to playing into racks and pedal boards and stuff now with buffers and where everything's clean. Like back in the day when EMGs came out, you had a lot of people playing pedal boards that were non-true bypass pedals and or maybe that sort of contradicts it because that means that they're probably buffered and stuff. But like a lot of people plugging into Marshalls directly or whatever, maybe long cable runs and not really thinking too much about like buffers, right? Like I'm talking about the 70s and the 80s. That wasn't a thing yet, Pete Cornish was the only guy out there that was building, pedal boards and who could afford that, that were properly buffered and all that. And he knew about all that stuff and nobody else did yet. And then Bradshaw came out and, he was doing his thing and stuff and designing boards. But it was like back in the day, we just didn't do that. So it was a lot of people maybe with 20, 30 feet of cable running into Marshalls and stuff. Well, EMGs are buffered right from the guitar, right? It's a preamp in the guitar. So that must have been very different for a lot of people plugging in. Whoa, it's just kind of like, I guess, sterile or bright or like whatever, right? But now we're all running like a 20-foot cable into a buffer pretty much into our boards. There's a signal that's sort of, it's not preamping, but it's, active low impedance buffer inline. Right. And then some people are using pedals and things to, everybody's got all these pedals now and stuff. So your sound, whether you like it or not, is, it's low impedance buffered, maybe preamped kind of sound. And so maybe it's not that different anymore than what we're used to at this point with our rigs, You're just doing it downstream from a cable a little bit more. So that's my theory. What do you guys think? Discuss. I'm saying that passive pickups and rigs back in the day going to active was a bigger difference than what's happening now, where a lot of people have buffers and preamps and things on their boards, and everybody's using pedal boards now. And it's more, before it hits the amp, not a lot of people plugging in direct anymore. So, yeah. Is a stacked humbucker or just noiseless? Well, it's one and the same. The stacked single coil, the goal is to make it noiseless, but it's humbucking. That's what a humbucker was, right? Does it sound like a humbucker? It doesn't sound, for whatever reason, like a true single coil generally when you do a stacked pickup, although talk amongst yourselves, argue amongst yourselves, some are better than others. Maybe the DiMarzio, area series pickups and stuff like that, maybe the closest sound, Kinmans or the different ones. But back in the day, I think like the HS3s and the Duncan Classic stacks or hot stacks were maybe all you could get in a stacked pickup. And generally speaking, folks will say those don't really sound exactly like a true single coil. They're sort of like a single coil, but there's a difference with the design with the coil, So Kenson up there in the super chat. Thank you very much. Thank you. There's that one. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, what else? What else? Oh, there's another super chat just popped up there. Thank you, Robert, again. I was pining. That word, pining. The word for the week is pining. I was pining for a revival drive with ghosting because of your demo. Got one now and love. Do you like the ghosting thing? I tried a old, kind of an interesting Marshall in here yesterday. It's a JTM 4. Wow, we got 489 people online. It's the most for the whole show. That's amazing. Thank you for being here, you guys. Anyways, old Marshall JTM 45 era, but it's transitional. So it didn't have a tube rectifier, but it's got a JTM 45 front end. And somebody's selling it, and I got a chance to try it yesterday. Cool amp. They don't. The main difference between the 45s and the stuff that comes later, one of the thing is the filtering. The sound is that so Marshall's, like this style Marshall can be a bit of a one-trick pony. If you know how to dial them in and stuff, you can get, as you can see, I'm jumpering it right now, doing that, running the tone controls a slightly different way. If you run the tone controls really low, which is an interesting way to run them, they'll clean up, because the tone's lossy in them, and you can get you're not hitting the phase inverter as hard if you do that, and you can get them to clean up and kind of do a different thing and get some cool clean sounds, especially when you jumper. But if you don't do that, and you just plug into the lead input and then turn up the volume, you might find they're kind of a one-trick pony where they sort of, there's the magic thing, and it's somewhere between 4 or 5 and maybe 8 on the volume with every Marshall, where it's kind of like, depending on the bright cap and the rest of the values in the front end and the filtering. So we started out talking about filtering. This JTM 45 has a really great sound for a lower gain, bluesy, think Stonesy meets Black Crowes kind of tones. Really great for that. Beyond that, it starts to fall apart and lose its thing. And one of the things about it that because I was listening to it, and I was saying to Friedman, because he's working on it and then they're going to sell it, but the filtering's really low on it. And what you hear is what you hear in the Revival drive. They've got this ghosting, control. The ghost notes can be extreme, and it doesn't even have to be turned up that loud. And then the ghosting gets, so I've got this thing about filtering where if you stiffen up the filtering on an amp too much, it gets kind of sterile. Yes, it might sound tighter, but it also can get thinner in its own way and sound kind of sterile. But too much of the ghosting stuff. So part of the reason why it sounds tighter, I think, is because with the ghost. So anybody that doesn't know what ghost notes is, it's like on the G string or on the B string, you can play up around the 12th fret, and you'll hear this phantom note underneath the note that you're playing. That's not like in tune or necessarily that pleasant when you hear it in isolation. Depending on how the filtering on the amp is, it can be more or less. And there's a magic amount there where what happens is whenever you play more than one note at a time, that phenomenon kind of disappears, because if you play one note, you hear the note and you hear the ghost underneath, right? If you play 2 notes, now everything kind of blends together. But the ghosting's still going on. It's just you can't hear it as defined, at all as when you're just playing one note, right? But that stuff is in there, and it thickens the tone in a way that, if it's just right, is really cool. It kind of diffuses the sound. It sounds fatter, looser, maybe, but it's like, it's this magic, just enough for a recipe kind of thing is just right. And so I noticed on this JTM 45 kind of transitional era amp, that it was like a little too much. I think that one step further on the filtering, just a little stiffer, might help the amp hang together a little more, because you turn up the amp beyond a certain point, then it starts getting a little dirtier, and there's a lot of ghosting going on, and now it just sounds like a bit of a muddled mess, a little bit, So it's an interesting thing with filtering. But the Revival drive is the one pedal that simulates the filtering with the ghost control, the original one. And it's a magic sort of je ne sais quoi that you can't get out of most guitar pedals, that you can get with the Revival drive, and sounds really authentically plexy and cool. Authentically AC30 too, because they got a significant amount of ghosting. My top hat ghosts like crazy, but it's just about right. I wouldn't want any more. This is like an AC30, this amp. This one ghosts less, My old Marshall, my 72, a little bit of ghosting, not a ton going on, but sounds great. So anyway, long story short, this amp sounded really nice from more aggressive. It's got a little more teeth because of the lead preamp front end, lead spec preamp front end. A little more, it just wants to rock a little more. And that 45 sounded really nice. I was thinking Brian Ray would probably think it would sound great Like it's a little more that bluesy kind of stonesy, a little more laid back, a little less gain. I just think if the filtering were slightly stiffer, you would have a bit more range to add some more gain without it turning into a bit of a fuzzy mess. You know what I mean? It's interesting, this stuff. I missed a $5 super chat there, and I want to grab it. Sorry about that, Martin. Thinking about selling a few mid-range guitars, Fender, Gibson, and Solar to buy one high-end guitar, possibly a Sura Music Man Luke. Good idea. It's so dependent on what you want and your particular Fenders and Gibsons and stuff. But what's your dream instrument? Is it a custom? Music Man Luke's a really cool guitar. Similar to kind of like my guitar, I guess, in its modern meets vintage sort of, like forward thinking, but you know what I mean? So both really nice instruments though. And Music Man makes great guitars. I think that quality wise, they're just excellent, just like Surs, honestly. So it just depends on what you want, So I think John would agree with that. He's really good friends with Sterling. Tell us more about what you want. Maybe we can help. Okay. John says on the deep dive EVH video, what was the signal chain? No, my delays are in front. So just reading the question there. The EP3, everything goes in front. You could put it after, but it's not how he did it. Back in the day, he had the Echoplex in front, which works fine. When you do it and you try, you go, oh yeah, that's the sound. The way that it's because of the way that it responds. Listen to the song like Ain't Talking About Love, and listen to when he rolls the volume down in the bridge of the song, or I guess it's kind of really like a down verse, but I've been to the edge, and there I stood and looked down. I lost a lot of friends there, baby. I got no time to mess around. In that part, listen to how the delay kind of disappears when he rolls the volume down. And then when he rolls it back again, it bounces back because it's hitting the dirt hard. That's how you know that he ran it in front. Because if you roll down and the delay stays the same, it would be coming post. If you had as much echo as you hear in the choruses of the song and stuff, that like how I did that. What a nerd I am. So that's what we do. And from the mouth of Rudy Laren to Dave and stuff, Rudy said he always ran everything in front. That's how he did it. And Rudy was there the entire time. So yeah. And Ed told people that he ran everything in front too. So this is how it was done. Yes, on some songs I think there was like echo and things added at the console, and how much pre-delay and all that could be on that. That's Don Landay stuff. Who knows? Like with the reverb. So there's other factors. But what's the one guitar effects processor you use for live performance? Because of its flexibility and capability, the H9 is the one that I use for reverb, some echoes, pitch, whammy, all kinds of things I do with that. Have I ever used it for whammy? I mean, I have on things, but not. You can do whammy with it. It's great. H3000 stuff. But it's the one that's the jack of all trades. Hard to go wrong with an H9. I struggle with the Bluetooth thing a little bit. I'm not crazy about that whole like the app stuff, and I wish I could just do everything on the pedal. That's one thing I really like about like my Mobius or whatever. I can just reach down and do it. But the sounds are awesome. And an H9, it's one of the most versatile, compact guitar effects available, ever. Thoughts on the new FM9? I don't know enough about it to know if it's different than the FM3. Is that the one that I have? But I think it's probably just like a similar unit that has more capability foot controller wise and stuff, right? Isn't it a little bit, larger footprint? I could be wrong. Maybe it's got other things in it. I can't say because I actually don't know. Alex B says, I've always wondered how much of Gilmore's Pulse and what's that DSOT? What's that album? Delicate Sound of Thunder. He was probably using EMGs then, but who knows how much? Yeah. Didn't he have EMGs in the... Well, he had that red guitar, and I don't know. You know, you could go to Gilmore-ish and they will tell you. They're the biggest guitar nerdy site on the internet. It's pretty awesome. Gilmore-ish. If you haven't seen that, I'm sure you're aware of it. But if you're not, it's amazing for Gilmore information and what he used on every single song and album and, you know, live tone. Yeah. How was the show with Dave? About to put on next. Tell Ben. Which show with Dave? Are you guys talking amongst yourselves? Sorry, I don't know which one you mean. What you mean? Frosty's going to fire up the barbecue. That sounds pretty good. You should do it. I love a vintage Hondo. Hey, that was my first guitar. If I still had it, it would be vintage now, just like me. I'm vintage. It gets somber and serious just for a second. Rest in peace for the 13 U.S. soldiers killed in Kabul. You know, I was really affected by the picture of, I think, I don't want to screw this up because I think her name is Nicole. Is that right? But the woman whose photo was came out this week with the other woman beside her, and they're both, you know, Marines, and they're holding the babies in that photo. It was such an amazing photo of, like, you know, like what a moment. I thought that's a really heavy picture. So I actually posted on Twitter, and 2 days later she was one of the folks killed in that attack. So, and I went to her Instagram yesterday, and you know, when you go and you look, you know, at the you get the human story. You learn, you know, about the people, and you see photos of them with their family and stuff. And I spent some time looking at that yesterday and looking at this. Her last name's Gee or G. It's spelled Gee. You can find it on Instagram, and I suggest if you haven't, maybe go look at it. And it you know, her IG is really interesting because here she is, you know, a few years ago, there she is graduating from high school. She's young, man. She's 23, and then she's, you know, a little bit older, and you see her. She's married for a few years now, so she got married quite young to her husband. They appear very in love, and they're a cute couple, you know. And anyway, you know, I get kind of emotional just thinking about it right now because it was like, God, she's just this kid, you know. But one thing that really struck me was the photo of her holding the baby that came out of, you know, this is 6-7 days ago that photo came out, and she was alive and well then, you know. And she looks like not the same person. It's like, that's a woman, you know. She looks like a young girl in the other pictures, you know, having fun and doing things that young people do, you know. And here she is, all grown up, like, you know, from one photo, it's almost like, you know, just a few photos back, here she is partying and having fun with her friends and stuff, and then here she is, and, you know, it got real quick, you know. And the last photo, and the caption, of course, that she posted with that photo, if you haven't seen it, says, "I love my job." Man, you know, it's just like. And then the next photo is her escorting folks onto a plane to get out of there. So the whole lineup of people, you know, U.S. citizens, Afghan folks getting out of there, and she's standing there and doing her job, you know. And wow, man, it was heavy. That I got a bit caught up in that yesterday, and I talked about it at dinner last night and stuff. And when you see somebody, you know, it's good to recognize the human story behind it. You know, you hear about it in the news or whatever, but if you spend a little more time with it, and then it really brings it all home. So anyways, absolutely rest in peace. That was it was heartbreaking, but also, you know, one thing that struck me is that photo is going to, historically, it's going to live on it's going to be one of those pictures that we come back to because of her story and stuff. So it's really, really heavy, you know? So anyways, can't end on this topic, something uplifting. Well, hey man, you know, absolutely. I'm going to get back to guitar here in a second, but I don't, I find it heartbreaking, but the service is, well, it made me, I'll tell you what, it made me feel proud, actually, you know, the American, because I'm an American now. And, so it's heartbreaking and it's emotional, but I felt, you know what I mean? Like the pride of, like that's an intense thing, you know, somebody that makes you go, wow, you know. Anyways, that's all. Yeah, Nicole Gee, that was her name. Go look at her IG if you think about it today. If you have a minute, it was heavy, and I feel for her husband and her family, and for her. But to see that is the most selfless thing. I love my job, and there she is holding that baby, and then it's just that's a hero. That's a hero right there. Politics aside and everything else. Wow. Watching from Germany, says Horst. Very cool show. Thank you. Thanks, man. I hope to get back there one of these days. I had so much fun over there, going to do the Toman event and GetCon and stuff. And I don't take that lightly, or for granted. It's a beautiful part of the world, and I had a great time in Germany, and the leading up to 2020, was there quite a bit, and I hope we get to go to do all that again. I'd love to go to Toman again. That's a great place, nice people, and some of the videos that we made there, and the nice people that I got to meet. That's where I met, make friends like Paul Davids, and all the cool folks there that I got to hang with. So that pedal show guys and stuff. So, anyways, Pete had a chance to spend any time on newer Park amps. I've only played them a little bit. At LA Vintage Gear here has the Park line, and Mitch is involved with them, I think, pretty deep. And so I played a little bit over there. I think they're really cool. If you want a great, he's one of those people, Mitch Colby, that if you want a great, JTM 45 or something, you want one now, you want a new one, there's your guy. There's a few folks, Germino, of course, Sir for straight up lead spec plexi, but there's not that many like handmade, maybe, a few companies, but there's not that many. There's that Dr. Dan guy that I've heard great things about up in Canada, that could probably build you one. But Mitch is one of those people, the Parks, where, I would say you have no reservations if you want a lead spec, rocket amp, or a JTM 45 or something like that, go for it, And what else we got here? Would be great to have you back at that pedal show. I'd love to go there and do that again. I was never on their show specifically, but in Germany, I paired up with those guys and did stuff, and it was really fun. So I like them a lot. They're nice folks. It's a nice community, the YouTube community, and I love those events, how they bring us all together and stuff. And I know they must be expensive to put on. I hope Toman does it again. I feel like they think it's worth it and stuff, because it's a lot to bring everybody together. But Oh, I missed a super chat from Michael. Sorry about that, my friend. Was wondering on pedals and amps you like for classic tweed sounds. I will say that my favorite tweed amp that I've ever personally played through was a Victoria Double Deluxe. If you can find one of those, man, that's a smoking amp. It just, to me, a Tweed Deluxe is a really cool thing, but like a Marshall and like the JTM 45 and stuff, they hold together to a point and then they can fall apart. The Victoria Double Deluxe, which this was in the 90s that I tried that amp, but I was blown away with how good it sounded rocking, like up loud. And it's a double power deluxe. So, it'd probably be 25 watts or something, or 30 watts, maybe something like that, with two speakers, but it's a deluxe front end. Boy, did that amp sound really good. One of my favorites. With that said, there's nothing wrong with a good old Fender, the 410 LTD, whatever Bassman, Tweed Bassman, which is a PC board Bassman. Terrific sounding amps, really, for the money. Great pedal amps, really, and that's, once again, what we're talking about. It's kind of a JTM 45 theme here towards the end. That's really like a 45 sort of circuit. So very similar, right? Who makes a good high watt? That's a really good question. Reeves, I guess, would be probably the number one, right? Let's see. Your feelings on offset guitars? Offset. Sorry, I don't know what that means, really. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what that means. Can you guys explain to me? And then I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you what I think. Thomann is the best internet shop in Europe before. Yeah, they're kind of the Sweetwater of Europe, right? You can get anything there, and their store is amazing too. If you ever get to go to Germany and go to Thomann, go check it out. That's quite an experience. I mean, it's like visiting Sweetwater, but they've got an amazing, like, just some of the band instrument areas. Like, if you know, as a guitar player, it'll be amazing, and that's really cool, you know. But you'll go into a room full of tubas. That's like, I've never seen so many tubas in one place. It makes just a great photograph. Or like rooms full of pianos are unbelievable there, you know. Some of the, and it, like, I'm talking like, you know, they've got Steinways and Bosendorfers, and, like, you know, it's incredible. So it's a really, really unique place, and it's very beautiful where Thomann is, actually, in the surrounding towns, and you know, it's gorgeous. I mean, just the facility right there is right beside this little lake, and it's really pretty part of the world. A lot of Germany is very beautiful, you know, really, really nice. All right. Oh, quick, everybody say Jazz Master. Oh, okay. Offset, like a Jazz Master body. I love Jazz Masters. I mean, I've never owned one, but I came very close to buying a 65 once that was $1,500, an under the bed kind of 65. I'm talking vintage Jazz Master, and I didn't buy it. It was in the 90s. It was one of those times where one got, but there's a couple guitars I remember. That was one of them. I remember specifically an SG Junior that was $500. Now they're like, you know, what are they now? 4,500 or $5,000 or something for, you know, maybe more, maybe six, you know, for an SG Junior. It's like single P90 dog ear, you know, jobbies. But yeah, $500 at this store in Pasadena. That was a, you know, it was a cool guitar. I passed on it, didn't get it, and I didn't have a lot of money then, so like it was like, you know. Rock Guitar School says, do you have any gigs coming up? Wow, we almost got 500 people online. Let's break the 500 mark. Somebody call up their friends and tell them to, you know, sign on to the show. It's amazing. Do I have any gigs coming up? I was mentioning a little bit earlier, when Classic Rock Show goes out again, I will be there. So when they announce, I'm not sure, but I think probably soon. From what I understand, things are going quite well with the current state of affairs in the UK, and they've been doing big gigs and stuff like that over there. I know they have their Fleetwood Mac show. Same organization does Classic Rock Show, does Rumors of Fleetwood Mac, a great Fleetwood Mac tribute. So I'll go over there and play with them. I have something else later in the year that is I've been asked about and said I am available for. And beyond that, it's up to the powers that be, and also the current, you know, the state of affairs come springtime next year, like what's happening. So you know, I'm hoping that that'll happen. If it all happens, I'll be away a lot of the year next year. My YouTube thing will change, you know, maybe. Oh, we made it to 501, says Vincent. Did we? That's good. We're back down to 495 now. But anyways, my YouTube thing will change. You know, I'll be doing more videos from the road and stuff, which I think is good. You guys like that, right? If I mix it up and do more like travel videos and stuff like that. Will I be ignored? Patrick, this is your moment. You're not going to be ignored. Did I miss a super chat with you? If I did, I'm sorry. Here, ask your question one more time. Just type it in the thing right now. If I missed your super chat, I might be getting long-winded and crazy and missing super chats. I don't know. Not sure. But anyways, I just noticed that Tom Lynn said he's not wearing a G-string. So he's got that going for him. Or maybe we've got that going for us. Just imagine that. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. I remember these guitars. Patrick, ask your... Oh, wait. There you are. Okay, there's your question. Put a Thornbuckle Plus in the bridge of my Hamer Special FM. Those are cool guitars. I always like those Hamers. Is it a like 80s or 90s reissue one, or an original 70s one, I wonder? Sounds fantastic with the 59 neck. Very Jimmy Page. Did you consider lace sensors instead of EMG? I'm not really a lace sensor guy, but I could be, you know, colored by my only experience with them, which was I bought one of those Fender guitars that had the roller nut on it in the late 80s and lace sensors, and I never really had the lace sensor golds in it, and I found them to be kind of underwhelming. But that's a long time ago, and maybe they make a different pickup now that's really cool. I don't know. But I'm very happy with the EMG guitar as it is, and that's you know, it's enough experimenting. So anyways, let's see. Coffee on Me this week. New music recommendation. Thanks, Matthew Kennedy. Switchfoot's new record. I like Switchfoot. That's a great band. They work with Tony Berg. Tony Berg produced. Really, that's interesting. They did a lot of stuff with John Fields, a good friend of mine, and that record with "We Were Meant to Live" and those songs on it, which I love that music. Actually, the guy's a great singer. He's a great lyricist, and some great guitar tones. Some really melodic, great kind of. I mean, I love that they. What was that other song? More Than Fine. You know that song? That's a beautiful song. Like really great song. That descending progression that happens in the verse. Anybody know that song? More Than Fine. Anyway, Switchfoot, great band. And that's cool. They made a record with Tony Berg. I've met Tony Berg a couple times. He's good friends with Bob Clearmountain. I just saw him actually at Clearmountain had a party a little while ago I was at, and Tony Berg was there. It's interesting. Oscillation Overdrive. And thank you for the Coffee on Me Fund, Matthew Kennedy / Class Action Lawsuit. Sue Everybody Fund. I'm going to sue Spectrum for the internet dropping out. I'm not playing with Jimmy Page that I know of. Am I? Is something happening? Do I need to get on the phone? Am I playing with Jimmy Page? I don't know. I wish I was playing with Jimmy Page. That'd be fun. Eric says, I was surprised to see Cantrell announce a tour with the way things are. Well, lots of people are on the road. I mean, it seems like an individual choice amongst different bands, right? Depends on who you, Guns N' Roses is out there doing their thing, So anyways, great show today, says Nightjar. Thanks. We've been all over the map, but it's been a lot of fun. When I put up the replay, I will spend a minute editing out the portion where the internet dropped out. I can do that. I can go back and cut that part out. So it's seamless and stuff. If anybody were to watch it again, you probably won't, because why would you do that? You had enough of me for 1 week. Yeah. Sue everybody. That's right. What would you say a difference between a Gibson Standard and custom is? Does it justify the price? Not always. I've got some great USA-made Gibsons that I think are very, very good guitars. So, I don't think there's this if you get a good USA-made one, then you make good music with it. Who cares, right? I mean, my 90s Les Paul Standard is a really good guitar. It's kind of, they tend to be like heavier or chambered. I think maybe they send like the Primo wood to the custom shop. So, they're not going to be making like a hell of a lot of like 8.2 pound Les Paul Standards coming out of USA Gibson. I just don't think it's going to happen with either that or they're going to use Okume or whatever that wood, different kind of wood or something. They're not going to use if they've got a Honduras mahogany that's that light, I don't think it's going to USA Gibson. I think it's probably going. I just don't think so. I think it's going to go to the custom shop at this point. So there's that aspect. If you like if you like, what it is with the custom shops, like if you like your Les Paul traditional, you want it to look and be lacquer and hide glue and have, be under sub 9 pounds and yet be solid and not chambered and like all that stuff. If you want all that made out of the right woods, done the old way, I guess, as close as possible from Gibson, you go custom shop. If you just want a great guitar and you're not so concerned with all that historical accuracy stuff and everything, maybe you even want a few modern features, there's nothing wrong with getting the USA stuff, right? It really comes down to that, like the handmade historically, the exact woods and all this stuff, the glues and everything. If that's important to you, then the custom shop is or an artist guitar, right? That's like a, limited run of the Slash, whatever special edition or whatever, So Robert says, thanks for everything. And this is officially the last of my stimulus check. It's going straight into the Sue Everybody Fund. So the lawyers are going to get it. I don't know if that's not going to make you happy. No, seriously though. Thank you, Robert. You don't need to. Just don't send me the last of your anything, please. Now I want to send it back to you so you can buy a coffee. Sue them all, says Stephen. Oh, you guys. All right, 484 people online. It's 2:20. Whoa, did I really go that long? How did 20 minutes slip by like nothing? That's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna go till 2:30, and then I'm gonna stop. Here, let's set an alarm. If you don't know this, you can do this. Hey, Siri, set an alarm for 10 minutes.
I turned on your 2:30 p.m. alarm.
If you learned anything from the show that you didn't know you could do before, that was it. The most important thing. I use that for cooking all the time. Okay, not that I really cook. I'm talking about, I heat up things in the oven, or I put, I make noodles. Let's see. I'll sue you, I'll sue him, sue everybody, says Tom Lind. Exactly. How are hollow and semi-hollow guitars different from solid bodies? I'm curious, but never tried one. Well, there's the different designs of hollow bodies, right? The fully hollow guitars, there's some Gretches and some Gibsons and stuff, which is a sound and a thing. It's not really my thing, but it's a thing. You can imagine they're probably quite lively acoustically, and they feed back a lot. Then we've got the solid center block style guitars, like 335 is probably the most famous example, where you've got a piece of wood running down the middle of the guitar, maple in a 335, I do believe, right? And of course the bridge is bolted to that, and you got that solid center block, but then it's open, in the areas around that. So you get some of those hollow body qualities. To me, that's a nice balance if you're playing anywhere near dirty rock and roll. When we think about folks like Wolf Van Halen now playing 335s, or Dave Grohl, folks that like rock and roll tones, but with a semi-hollow, and it is a great sound. You can hear it in any video I've done with either my DG 335 or my red, my old vintage 335. Just a great, there's an air. Sorry, I banged on the desk for the guy that was mad about that. There's an air around the notes, like there's a real, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like there's a quality to it where it's just this beautiful acoustic quality that does come through the pickups and the tone of the guitar. There's a woodiness to it. I don't know. There's like a depth to the sound or something around every note that sounds really cool on a hollow guitar. That's very distinct and unique and cool. Like compared to a Les Paul sounds drier. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah, it's like there's like a built-in, it's not reverb, but it's like there's a depth. It's like, when you've got a cabinet sound in a modeler or something, and then you blend in a little bit of ambient or room mic or something. It's like that kind of thing, but in a guitar. Like there's a little bit of this thing around every note that's just a really nice little added bit of character that is really cool. You will still get some extra feedback over a solid body with a hollow body guitar, but it can be kind of cool, and it's neat when they feed back and you can actually feel at a loud volume the air pumping out of the sound hole on your arm on like a 335, out of the F hole. You feel this like this air kind of pushing out when you play chords and stuff, and it's an extra added little kind of neat, I see a super chat up there. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. Madsen, how do you learn to play with others? Just by doing and listening. The key is to listen to the other people when you're playing. That's the thing, is don't get caught into your own zone too much, is really spend time listening to the other players and getting into that. That's the key, is, and maybe that's eye contact. I like to think that in-ears have taken some away out of the equation of this stuff. I like to just not have those things in, but you can still get the vibe with them in, I guess. But the thing of playing with other people and listening, you just have to, one of the things you can do is really pay attention to your time before you get into a room with a drummer, because all the drummer's been thinking about is time and dynamics, right? But if you haven't practiced to a metronome or a drum machine or something, your time, it can be very disconcerting and kind of difficult when you get into a situation with a drummer for the first time. So that's something to think about, is you really start paying attention to your, because now you're locked to, we spend time as guitar players playing by ourselves and not always with time and stuff. And then all of a sudden you're with time all the time now when you're playing with a drummer, and it's like, oh, I should have worked on this more, because now I'm held to this other, but you're part of the groove too, because you push and pull them and they push and pull you. And it's, so, but it's a lot about listening. That is the number one word, listen, and playing with other people. So, Nightjar, you held the original Frankenstrat, I'm assuming. Was it indeed heavy? You know what? I don't know if I did or not. That's my honest answer to that. I played a guitar up there but it could have been one of the reproductions, and I'm not clear on whether it was or not, and I was too shy to ask. That's the truth. I didn't ask. So maybe you've seen pictures of me holding whatever guitar it was at 5150, and maybe that's why you're asking, but I don't know if it was the original one or not. I know it's crazy, but it's weird. I don't know. You try it. You go up there and be cool. It's, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, I never wanted to, I don't know. Seems stupid, right? But sometimes I get shy around. I get shy. I do. I was more shy back then than I am now. Now I've got less fucks left to give, I think. And now I'm more, maybe doing this show helps, I have an Epi 3S ES339 with Thornbuckers. I can get controlled feedback at will. It's a beast. That's awesome. Probably a great pickup because they're lightly potted. It's just right for that guitar, to help with not getting too much feedback. That's cool that you've got them in a semi-hollow. Love that. Get a Beat Buddy for practicing alone. I did a video for that little pedal. It's a little drum machine pedal. I agree. That's a really cool pedal. It's kind of fun. Okay, what else we got here? When are you going back to the pickup shootout rail? Jerry, we did that last week, actually. So Dave Friedman was on my show last week, and we just decided to do it like it's kind of like a discussion on the show. So if you watch the replay from last week with Dave, it's on my channel. You can find it. Just last live stream I did. It's the pickup roundup. Yeah. The super chat that I have to get to there. It's Peter Evans. Sorry for making you wait there, Peter. What's up, man? Thank you for the super chat. Strong show. Thanks, man. Videos this week, and how about that Sweetwater thing? It's 2 products that I don't think I can mention yet because they're coming out. So I shouldn't say anything, but a unique guitar-based product and a little amplification device thing. So yeah, so a couple videos coming out. If I can finish it, one will be tomorrow. If not, it'll be Tuesday, but hopefully tomorrow. And then I'll probably hold one until Friday or so, end of the week. So there'll be a couple this week. What else, you guys? What else? Have you spent time with Wilco yet? And have you become a fan? I haven't spent that much time listening to Wilco, and I should probably do that. Sorry, Patrick. That's my honest answer. That is my honest answer. What else we got here? Just looking through the chat. I'm gonna go soon here. It's 2:28, so the alarm's gonna go off in 2 minutes. 2 minutes to midnight, says my niece. Heard that's right. When Paul Stanley gets over COVID, can you have him on the show? I like Paul Stanley. He's cool, and he's a really good guy. That would be awesome. But he's probably too famous to be on my little show. I don't know. That would be fun though. He's a guitar nerd too. He has a Gilbert guitar. He's got all kinds of cool guitars. What's this here? I had a beautiful Gibson Explorer 86, something similar, $800. I know it's reached. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. I see. If you could only have one guitar, which one? Honestly, it'd be my signature guitar. Honestly, one of my signature models, because I could work my whole life and probably have a, just fine, successful career using that one instrument with the tones I can get out of it. Michael says that he sent me an email last month. I wonder if I got it. I don't know. Where did you send it? I'm sorry. I'm so behind on my email right now. And I felt kind of bad. Maybe I should wrap up with this. So I'll mention this thing that happened this week. My alarm's going to go off in a sec here. So I'll be ready for that. Turn it off. There it is. So I felt kind of bad because a guy sent me a message, and it was, I think, maybe on IG Messenger, and it was about helping him with his rig, which I get a lot of questions, and I generally tell people come Sunday, because that's what this is the few hours a week I set aside to kind of like talk about guitar rigs and stuff, and if I can be of any help and offer any, whatever it is, I'll do it, but this is where I kind of do that individual sort of consultation. Maybe it's something I'd get into later via, maybe Patreon or something and do, but how much time do you have? Like, it's difficult, because I'm supposed to make a lot of these videos. That's what I do. And YouTube really is, that, and then also to be a musician, go do sessions and tour and stuff. So it's just time management is all it is. So he was a little like, he said, I thought I would at least get a reply from you. And I hadn't written back to him. So I did write back to him. And I said, I'm sorry. I just saw it. Occasionally here's the thing. There's a lot of messages that come in, my regular email, and then also my IG Messenger, and then also Facebook Messenger. Probably those are the main three, but I get a lot of messages. So if any of you guys ever written to me and I haven't gotten back, it's just, I just don't have enough time to do like standard, because like I'm my own video editor and I write the songs for the videos and all that. And I'm my own engineer and I'm my own everything. And I have to clean this room sometimes. It gets out of control and I have to clean my house, which right now is out of control, and do the dishes. And because there's nobody else that does it. So I just honestly, I guess it's like quality problems, and I'm honored, but it's like, I just don't have enough time many times. So the guy, I had to say, I'm sorry. I really don't do like just if there's questions, this is the time, is all I'm saying, I guess, to come, because this is fun. It's a great format for doing it. It moves fast and I enjoy it and I look forward to it every week. And this is the time I set aside to talk about, people's gear selection and choices, and maybe right pedals or speakers or whatever it is. You know what we do here. So it's better than maybe the emails. That said, occasionally I answer them, And when I have a minute and I go into Facebook, I'll say, let's do this for 15 minutes. And I'll get in there and I'll send back some specific, try this pickup, or here's the amp, or try these tubes. This is the one I would, whatever the question is. But it can't be an all the time thing. And I can't do individual, like, I've had folks ask me, like, can I hire you to? And it's like, not really. Like, I don't really want to get into that, It's just not, you know what I mean? So it doesn't mean that I don't love everybody that's into this stuff. Time management is important for being successful. Yes. Thanks for your time. And thank you guys for your time, and it's just like, we all only have so much time. If I had kids, man, I can't even imagine. I don't know how I would get anything done. Maybe someday that'll happen. And, it'll be a different scene. I won't have as much time, but, as it stands right now, it's just, what's your favorite multi-effect? I was mentioning earlier, I don't know about favorite, but, the H9 is an incredible device. That is something I use on my board now. Who do you insure your equipment with? There's different people you can go to. I would look at Heritage. They're the ones that Heritage Musical Instrument Insurance. They seem like willing to work with musicians and, insure your vintage gear and stuff like that. Or any kind of gear, really. It's important to, ever played the Hughes and Kettner Pure Tone? I have not. It's important to respect our heroes' time. I feel that way too with anybody that I'm, it's just tough time management. We're all busy these days and stuff, that's all I'm saying. So there are a lot of forums to ask questions. True. This is the best one for me. Okay. So Ben, thanks for being here. Check out Ben's show later. And there he is. Trust me, Pete's busy even when we text in between projects. Ben knows I'm busy. Ben, have a great show today, doing your thing, and have an awesome. Oh, that guy was me. Just kidding. It could have been. I was nice. I actually responded and tried to be like, tried to be polite, but he seemed a little put off that I was like, I hadn't written back to him, but which I get, but sorry. All right. There's Christopher. Hey man, thanks for the super chat. And last one coming in there. I appreciate that. People need to realize you can't provide free services. It's your job and you need to get paid. I'm happy to do things for free. Like when I started this, there was no super chat thing, it was just like, let's talk guitar, but it's just about the time, like setting aside the time. The super chats are a bonus that you guys, I love you guys. You guys don't, I'm not asking for it, but you do it anyway. And I won't turn it down because I've got to put together my Sue Everybody fund so that we can get some new internet around here. But anyways, okay, I'll shut up now. Well, there's Vincent. Vincent is coming in again with the super chats. I noticed you had an SM7B in your mic lineup at Sunset. That was really Dave's pick because we kind of agreed on the same, since we were doing over 2 days, both of our signature packages for 2 notes. For those just still here that weren't here at the beginning, we went to Sunset Sound this week and did impulse response packages, Dyne IR packages for two notes with some really cool cabinets with great speakers in them. And Dave Friedman and I are both going to have a signature package coming out. So you'll be able to get our sounds in your DAW and yet an SM7B in your mic lineup. So how would you recommend using that mic for recording? Best uses or things to avoid? I own two. They are terrific microphones as an all-rounder, really great as a vocal mic on any kind of problem singer, great at rejection. So you can use them in I think it was either a 57 or an SM7 that Michael Jackson used to cut a lot of vocals. They're great as a handheld in the studio. You can just, use them like keeper vocals, Great on problem female singers because they have a nice warm top end. So by problem, I mean if a girl pushes and maybe she's got an unpleasant top end at times, you know what I mean? Or a dude, but really I find that more sometimes with high pitched, female vocals. An SM7 can be just awesome into like a LI2 Air 1176. It's just a great sound and they're just really, really great for recording vocals. Guitar, Dave likes them on guitar cabs. It's never been one of my go-tos, but it does sound good. You can try it if you try the IR package and you listen. For me, that thing that I go to a dynamic for, maybe it's like the 57 is the brightest and got that most sizzly kind of 57 top end or whatever in that cut that they do. Then an SM7 is quite dark. Well, the 441 for me, when you hear that, because I use a Sennheiser 441 as well, that's right in the middle of those, and it's just about right. But Dave likes them, and you know what? I see Patricia use them and stuff, and all kinds of different people using the SM7. So it's a really cool mic. Great on kick drum. Nice on kick drum too. Like just a large diaphragm dynamic. For anything that you would, Michael Jackson was an SM7. Says, yeah, I think he liked to kind of move around the studio and kind of like it's a great mic for handheld performance. Like while you're so if you're hand holding a vocal mic and singing, it's like moving around. He says, and there would be a lot of keeper vocals, and they've got great rejection. So you could have the monitors cranked up and sing, and it would probably work okay. So it's kind of neat. SM7 on toms is dynamite as well, says Zed. I can imagine on floor toms they're kind of like a bigger microphone, so it's like they're maybe with the cymbals it could be an issue or not, depending on where you put them on the kit. But I could imagine that might be nice on snare drum too, with some EQ. SM7 is great for snare, says James. God, I've never tried it, but I will tell you it's one of my favorite mics on female singers, especially like rock singers. Terrific mics. Anthony Kiedis used one. You guys are a wealth of knowledge. I don't know this. I just heard Michael Jackson was the main one. But yeah. And you'll see Dave use them on Tone Talk. Dave and Mark both use them for they're a favorite of broadcasters too, like radio broadcasters, and similar to RE20. That's another nice large diaphragm Electro Voice RE20, great on guitars too. Actually, that microphone really, really nice. So and affordable. That's true. Could be the right choice, and I think they're $350 or $400 or something like that. And a terrific microphone for that amount of money. Great kind of all-round thing to have in your mic collection. Okay, with that, I'm going to go. I'm starving. I'm going to go get some lunch, and then I'm going to come back and finish some videos for this week. You guys, thanks so much. It was a fun show. It got melancholy at times, but thanks for hanging in with me on that stuff. But anyways, I appreciate you all. Love y'all. Thanks for the super chats, and we will see you in 1 week. Take care.